Well, hey, I didn't know you guys were here. I didn't know we already started. I accidentally hit go live. So hold on. Let me make it official. Well, hold on. No, that's not it. Setting up. What's happening here? Yeah, I'm setting up. You know, I'm trying to up the production quality for y'all, but I keep. I'm too hood for that, I guess. Let me go get my charger. You guys gonna have to follow me. Hold on. Whoa, everybody. Whoa. We're definitely doing this outside today. The weather's good. I didn't even want to wear a hat. Hold on. Take the hat off. Oh, okay. Have to go find my damn charger. Y'all, this is like the early sneak peek. You guys aren't even supposed to be here. I just came back from helping a neighbor set up her new home stuff. So I am in disarray right now, but it's all good. Okay. Ndewo. Udo. We already got 8 people in here. Maybe I should always begin in complete chaos. Udo na ndụ onye ọma, udo na ndụ nwanne, onye na-ekwu news and facts. Onye ebe. Udo. All right. Let us, hold on. How well can you guys hear me? Can everybody hear me well? Can everybody hear me well? Ndewo. Yes, so hey, Imaziz, all smiles be. Ndewo. Behind the scenes action. Yeah, with the mic setup. Yeah. No, we're going to that next level. Ndewo Odugo, Ndewo Nwanne, good to see you. Setting up. Reginald, Ndewo. Rude Mechanicals, Ndewo. Okay, JD Bailey. I think I'm caught up. Damn, I was gonna say, I didn't even bring my OG. Okay, fine. Don't worry. We can do it without. You got me hooked. Okay, I appreciate that. Watching many of your videos for Igbo spirituality back home. Learning a lot about divination spirits. He said, I'm going to be doing the divination videos soon. We're going to do the deep dive in divination soon. So I've been putting it in the most recent videos little by little, and we're going to go very deep soon. I'm actually studying Afa very in depth right now. Because It's all there. Everything that I teach is all there in Afa. But all right, so once we get to 15 people, we're gonna go ahead and begin, okay? Once we get to 15, we'll go ahead and begin. Yes, we can hear you. Cool. I can't answer any questions yet. Somebody asked me, have I heard of Chism? I have heard of Chism, so I'll discuss that in a little bit. So we are at 12 people. Once we get to 15, we'll begin. For those who are new, my name is Derek Ofadarungwa with the Medicine Shell. I teach Igbo spirituality and cosmology, known to the ancestors and to the people as Odinala, right? Or Odinani. I can pronounce Allah a little bit better now, so I went back to saying Odinala. But those who have followed the channel for a long time will know what I'm referring to. For those of you who are interested in the topics that I discussed, which is ancestral spirituality, cosmology, and culture, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join our Patreon community, the Village Gwenu. Come join the village. Ogechi, hey! Ogechi, I was very happy to hear what you sent. That was so cool. That was so cool. And I haven't seen your response. But y'all, join the village. Join the village. It's patreon.com/the medicine shell. We have hit 15 people. All right, let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to break Aji, but since I don't have Aji, we will bear our hearts. We will use our hearts. We will present what is in our heart, the purity of our heart, the wholeness of our hearts, to the elements around us, to the people around us, which is you guys, and to the ancestors, right? Let me go ahead and begin. And then I'm going to explain what this Iwaji thing is for those who are kind of new or those that maybe want to hear it, right? You guys are not new. If you've been with me for a while, you're not new to hearing me say something more than once. So, all right. Kaibido, okike kerowa, alawala, ala nne mmadụ na nne mmụọ, ala na-enye ndụ, na-enye nke ọma, ala anyị siri bịa, ala anyị si elo, ụmụ gị abịala, ọwụ ubi anyị ka anyị chọrọ ka unu fụ, otu ọ dị ọcha, otu o buru nke ọma, otu ọ na-eti, otu Chineke kere ka o ti n'ụwa. Ụmụ gị abịala, otu unu fụrụ m bụ otu m dị. Eji m obiọma na-ekele ndị eke, ndị orie, ndị afọ na ndị nkwọ. Jikwa obiọma na-ekele ndị mbụ na ndị egede, ndị mmadụ na ndị mmụọ. Owe obiọma ka m ji na-ekele ndị mbụ na ndị egede. Jikwa obiọma na-ekele ọfọ na ogwu. Ji obiọma na-ekele ala na igwe. Ji obiọma na-ekele nta na imo. Ji obiọma na-ekele ọkpụ na ichie. Mana anyị bụ otu obi, otu ụbụrụ, otu uche, otu akọ, otu akụ na otu ụba. Nke ọbụla anyị tiri aka ọ ga-eto n'ụwa. Ebe ọbụla anyị tiri obi ọ ga-adị n'ụwa. Nyere anyị ike na mmadụ, nyere anyị ike na mmụọ otu anyị na-enye anyị ike na mmadụ. Otu a ka ọ ga-adị na eke, n'orie, n'afọ, na nkwọ. All right. I'm going to get that powder so I can do the LeBron James thing. So I'll do my Enugu States. My mentor, I can hear you. Udo one there. Good morning from Nigeria. Hey, Nigeria's in the house. Thank you. I'm glad. Good morning from Nigeria. Abumonia, Abia States. I'm from Abia State, for those who don't know. I have a question concerning Usu. Okay, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to answer the question that came first, and then I'll get to the Usu question. I'm glad you asked it because we need to really talk about that. Oops. What am I doing? Okay. Behind the scenes. Yeah, you guys got the behind the scenes. We don't undo one there. All right, we can hear you. Have you heard of Chism? Yes, I have heard of Chism. I know people that were associated with it or a part of that movement. I think Chism was great because in the time Chism emerged, I think it was a low point as far as like public acceptance and appreciation for Odinani. So we had one particular person, I can't remember his name, but he was working the way I was working to preserve it in his own way, in his own way. But yes, I've heard of Chism. Odemma. It is an early precursor to everything we're seeing now as far as presenting Odinani in on modern platforms. Odemma. I didn't know that Igbo had a absolutely, a numerology system. Not surprised because I'm sure Indian Vedic numerology got somewhere back home in Africa. No, it has nothing to do with India. It has nothing to do with India. It has nothing to do with India. Most of what you want to understand about Igbo numerology, you can see it in the culture. You can see it in the way DBS practice their work. You can see it in Afa. If you're told to bring 3 chickens, there's a reason you're being told 3 chickens. If Afa tells you to bring two, let's do chickens again, 2 rams, there's a reason it says 2 rams. If there's a ritual and somebody has to do something 5 times or 2 times, it is there when we say ise. Ise means 5. Ise means 5. But in Afa, 5 has more meaning than just 5. You understand? 5 says it shall be. So no, it goes way, 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 way beyond. It has nothing to do with India. It has nothing to do with India, Udo. And so I can hear you. Abumonye, Abia State. I have a question concerning Osu caste. Because from my research, I found that Osu people were actually the ones that bear the scars from Western slavery. No, not really. Not really. Not really. It's not really. Of course, the slave trade had an effect in that system, but that's you can't really say that universally. Um, Traditionally, people who were Osu could not be uh, sold as slaves, right? People who were Osu were not sold as slaves. People who were Osu could not participate in anything pertaining to slavery. So what would happen was a lot of people to avoid, like let's say your village gets attacked and it gets destroyed, a lot of people would run to like a neighboring shrine and declare themselves Osu. Once they couldn't fight anymore, they would declare themselves Osu so that they couldn't be captured. And because of that, because there was such an influx of people going joining the Osu um, uh, group, the Osu designation, whatever you want to call it, because so many people were rushing to it to avoid slavery, Osu became associated with the idea of slavery, right? Osu became associated with the idea of slavery. At the same time, and this is the honest truth, because a lot of Osu could not, or because Osu could not be trafficked or whatever in during the slave trade, a lot of them were the slave dealers. A lot of them were the slave dealers. A lot of the people were a lot of them were the ones participating on that level. So it's a complicated history. It's refuge for a lot of people to escape that. For those who were already, like, let's say you were enslaved at home and you escape, there were a lot of places you can go to. Like Nri is a very popular one where you declare yourself a part of their shrine, and then from there, nobody can come back and say you are their slave, right? Because you're under Allah's protection, jurisdiction, and so forth. But a lot of people who were Osu took those privileges, advantage of them, and they also participated in the slave trade. I can go further in depth than that, but that kind of thing. And it's not to say that the people selling slaves were just Osu. It's complicated. Ahambu abido sheka. Kama gandus ka gandus anko. Kama citadel anko. Hey, Abido Sheka. Yeah, yeah. I might get my government name changed to Abido Sheka. Meta Soul and there, whoa, so cool seeing you. Thanks for being here. I love seeing familiar names. Ngwa people don't believe in Osu, so I never knew that was a thing in Igbo culture. So it's complicated. It's complicated. So how do I put it this way? Yeah, no, there's places that didn't do the Osu thing anyways. There's places that didn't have the Osu thing. But if somebody was Osu from another community, then that's just what it is. Like they come and do that. So Ademma. But a lot of places in Abia don't have Osu. Osu has a deeper story that our elders are not telling up to date. The reason Osu cast was actually seen as taboo for someone to be Osu's family. Hold on, wait. Hold on. The main reason Osu cast was actually seen as taboo, or for some of our Osu family that have rejected their Osu. Are you asking? So I did this documentary on the Osu caste system. It's called History of the Igbo People because that's ultimately what it was. And I put my back and neck into researching this thing. I spoke to elders from villages you've never heard of. I ended up somewhere talking to like looking for not talking to looking for research in like Central Africa, like Cameroon, Congo. I found out some interesting things about Benin that I'm not even sure historians know, and I put that all into this documentary called Usu Explained. You can also type History of Igbo People, and it's all there. It all explains what that Osu thing is and so forth. But the original people who were Osu, the original people who were Osu, were the physical representations of an Arishi, or the human representations of an Arishi. An Arishi is a decentralized intelligence, right? So when a person activates an Arashi, let me put it this way: an Arashi is a means of communicating with a force, with an Abara, right? A means of communicating with an Abara. So an Arashi can help you communicate with Allah, which is the earth. An Arashi can help you communicate with whatever water body of water you have in your community. And my own is Njaba. Some people it's Idemiri. Some people it's Imo. Some people, it's the Cross River, whatever they call the Cross River in their place. Others, it's Oshimiri, the Niger River or the ocean, that kind of thing. So you can build an Irish that allows you to communicate with that thing. Now, here's what makes somebody Osu. When they build that connection and it works, right? And it works, that person now has the offer to activate that Irish. They have the offer to activate that Arushi, right? The ones that work, or it's not just that. Anybody can set up something and say, okay, this is the blah, blah, blah shrine, or this is the yada, yada, yada. But if you go there and you say, I have a tumor, and they say this shrine can get rid of your tumor, and it doesn't get rid of your tumor, then their Arushi doesn't work, right? So the ones that tend to work, the person now has the offer of that Arushi, that something about that person is connected to that Abara, is connected to that force. And in that way, it's almost like when you think of like government clearance with a thumbprint, you put your thumbprint and the door opens, that person has the thumbprint, right? And so their descendants have that thumbprint. If and then also anybody who like joins that person's following. So like for example, like I was saying earlier, a lot of people to avoid slavery or to avoid a debt or so on and so forth would join and become Osu and so forth, right? And they would the Osu then would be like, I hate making comparisons to the Bible because people get lazy and they want to say, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's what that is." But think about if you grew up in the church, which a lot of you did, think about like Levites in the Bible. Like they would do all the spiritual stuff. They would do all the spiritual stuff, right? But over time, the non-Osu people started taking on a lot of the privileges of the Osu, which is where the title system, those titles come from. Nze, Ozo, all that stuff. That's where it comes from. So they start taking on a lot of those privileges because it becomes a power struggle, right? If it, traditionally, even till today, if an Osu person walks into your house and takes your food and walks out, there's nothing you can do about it. You have to just let them do it, right? It's similar to those of you who are from like southern Anambra, northern Imo State. You might be familiar with how the Eken Jaba, the python, is treated in the culture, right? If a python comes into your house, you open the door, you offer it food, that kind of thing, because the python is an animal representation of the Irish, right? So the human representation of the Irish is the same thing. When you hear all these stories about the priests of Inri priests, that's who they are. That's Old Osu, right? But because, anyways, history makes it so that the Osu people end up losing like their status. Some Osu people lose their status, not all. Some. So some communities, they lose their status and it becomes seen as like a bad thing, especially with the advent of Christianity. If you're telling me you're the child of the shrine, and I'm a child of Jesus, you got to get away from me. You know what I mean? That kind of thing, right? And so it's complicated, but I put it all in this documentary and so forth. But some people with that same status did not lose their status, right? So in a lot of places in Abia and a lot of places in Delta, they will tell you we don't do Osu. A lot of places in Enugu and a lot of places in Ebonyi, they'll say we don't do Osu, we don't do Osu. But if an abomination happens, there's a family that they will call to clear that land of the abomination. And that family is what the other places would have called Osu, but it didn't become derogatory in your culture, right? Because even the phrase Osu is like it didn't start out derogatory, but it is now, right? It is now. So that kind of thing. The actual term, the original term was Diala, which is what non-Osu used to call themselves now. It is Diala, right? Diala, person married to Allah, master of Allah, right? That kind of thing. A husband of Allah, right? So yeah, no, it's complicated. It differs from community to community. And a lot of people, because they don't want to deal with like the stigma and so forth, are like renouncing that they're Osu and all those things. So, I mean, I don't know. It's complicated. I hope we work it out. Ademma, Ademma. Where are we at? Are you familiar with Tobe Osigwe YouTube channel? Igbo guy. Seems very legit knowledge. Don't know if he's from your tribe. Yeah, of course he's from my tribe. Yeah, no, I've seen his channel. He has really cool stuff. So yeah, no, I like him. Go check out his channel. Tobe Osigwe. Yes. No, I think he's an Inze. When I was looking at the channel, I saw that he was an Inze, right? So he is an authority on these things. He's the one that you're supposed to learn it from. Abido Sheka was from the false pastor Odumeje. Of all the pastors in the world, Odumeje is my favorite. The first time I saw Odumeje, he was in a video, and I think he took some old woman, and threw her and threw her into a bunch of seats to show the power of Jesus. I don't know. I don't have Christian mentality, so I'm guessing that was the power of Jesus that caused him to throw her into the seats. And his first round of videos was just him slamming old women on some WrestleMania shit. And I was like, yo, what's going on with this guy? You know, they loved it. That's what they were there for, right? And so, yeah, I just started watching his videos and he cracks me the hell up. Oh my God. Abido She. What did he say? That he has many powers. He hasn't used all of them. I have not heard that man quote the Bible one time. So nah, he's hilarious. He's hilarious. Where did the existence of humans start on Earth? Oh wow, that's a deep ass question. Um, According to our ancestors, it's very hard to trace the beginning of humans, right? Because we begin from the source. From the source, we enter nature, which is earth and sky. From earth and sky, we become life forms, right? So, the theory of evolution, you can probably fit that right in the middle of earth and life form and so forth, or human, anyways. Everything evolving is a life form. But yeah, it would be hard to say when it began. And there's nothing in our tradition that says, oh, this is exactly where humanity began. We just know most stories start with at the beginning or when things began and so on and so forth. So I can't give you a time stamp on it. I can't, as far as that goes. Are you asking me where or when? Oh, I'm sorry. Where did okay, that's a different question. There's several villages in Igbo land that claim it came from them. Well, there's several villages in Igbo land that claim it was them. Of course, Africa is the strongest contender. Where in Africa, I don't know. Where in Africa, I don't know. I think they're saying the Horn of Africa or the Great Lakes, but I think that the climate in the Horn of Africa is better for preserving fossils. And I also think that the people in the Horn of Africa lived in well, okay, the climate and then the altitude and all that stuff. And then they lived in a way that was more conducive to the preservation of fossils. So, and I'm not an anthropologist or anything like that. So I would say right now, Horn of Africa is like the main one they keep finding the fossils at. But I wouldn't discount people finding things in other parts of Africa that are even older, right? I would not discount that whatsoever, just because some environments are more conducive to preservation of fossils than others. So, what is the origin of the joke Abido Sheka? I heard Nigerian comedian. Who asked that question? Okay, Odugo. Okay, so here's the thing, right? There's this prophet, by a pastor by the name of Odumeje, who has many powers, right? He hasn't even used them, right? He has Abido Sheka. He has Gandus Gagandusa. He has Citadel. That one, if he does all piagi, he got onions. That one, all piagi, he got onions. You understand? Odugo, I think you took Igbo one, so maybe you'll understand what I'm saying. All piagi with Citadel, he got onions. He got onions, onion, the one you cut. And so forth. So he just lists off all these powers he has, but it's just fine. Google Abido Sheka Odumeje. It's the funniest shit ever. That's the type of joke my uncle. I have an uncle that has the same humor. My uncle Magan. He just says the same type of stuff. So that when I saw that, I was rolling. I've been saying it up and down. Is there any significance to green Mongolian spots in Igbo cosmology? My sister and I, from my father's side, now my son, yeah, it runs in my family. I've never heard anything pertaining to it. I think it's really common with Igbo people. I think it's really common with Igbo people because Mongolian spots, just from the children I've witnessed their birth and growth. My three of my nieces, my son and my daughter all had Mongolian spots. So, um, which leaves about two babies that I know that didn't, but they may have in parts that I haven't seen. So it's a really common. It definitely runs in my family. I don't know anything particular as far as Odinani goes with Mongolian spots. I know that as far as Odinani goes, things that appear on your body tell you messages about your previous life. They say something about your previous life, right? So somebody can have a stab wound or be stabbed in the rib and then be born with maybe a Mongolian spot or something on that part of the rib. Um, there was one growing up. It was like kind of a folklore superstitious belief where I think it was like wherever you have a beauty mark is what part of you that's like beautiful or something like that. So like it's marked off by that. I don't know. But yeah, no, everybody has the marks on your body all tell something about who you are and so forth. So I think the best person to answer that question would be a dibia akaraka. A dibia akaraka. The akaraka is are the etchings on your palm, right? They're the etchings on your palm. But akaraka goes further than the etchings on your palm. Akaraka goes beyond your palm. So these lines on your palm, they extend through your entire body and they make these very symmetrical patterns. This is according to our ancestors. They make these symmetrical patterns and so forth. And that there are certain people who are gifted with Oseora. Is it Oseora? With a certain gift of vision. So Oseora or Osenabua, either or. And they're able to see, that's the name of the gift. That's the name of the gift according to Afa. And so they're able to see those lines on people. Like they can look at you and see those lines on you. Some people walk around and they see lines on people. They have this gift, right? To see lines on people's bodies that nobody else can see. Um, and then on top of those lines, there'll also be like marks, different little marks, spots, things like that. All of those tell a story. All of those can be read by a Dibia Akaraka, and they can read them to understand your chi. Traditionally, when a woman in the far past, I don't know how far, but far enough past, before your wedding, a lot of women would have somebody read their Akaraka, like somebody who can see their lines, take uli dye, and draw all of their lines. And it's said that once that is revealed for a woman, she has infinite beauty, right? Her ability, her omomo is on a different level. Her ability to captivate a person or a group of people from beauty alone has exceeded, because now you're seeing her chi. You're seeing the nature of her chi. You're seeing the writings of her chi. You're seeing the face of her chi. And so this is something that women used to do in the past. I think it's the tradition has faded off. It's not as common as it used to be, and so forth. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Mongolian marks have something to do with that. There's also another theory I have, as far as the Mongolian marks, is the idea that Nwata Bomo, a child is spirit, an infant is spirit, really. And so when an infant does the process of return, right, the process of returning into the world, for the first, until they receive their name and have their umbilical cord buried, which is 8 days, they are still a spirit. And so a lot of what they have on their body, a lot of what they come with belong to Alamor. They come from that world of spirit, right? But yeah, those are things that could point to what Mongolian marks or what our ancestors say about Mongolian marks, but I haven't heard anything very specific that kind of hones it in. All right, let's go. All right, Jude Carpenter came out his cave to say Ooga Booga. What do you do in the traditional medicine class and focus on traditional medicine? What is the end purpose of the traditional medicine class? I don't see the class on the Kedu website. Weird. Okay. If you want to see the class on the Kedu website, go to www.kedu.me. Click on that orange button that says sign up. Just click the orange button that says sign up. Once you get there, you will see where it says language and medicine. Click medicine, and then it should show up, or click medicine and scroll down, whatever your screen looks like, right? You'll be on the medicine page. Medicine, we have two medicine classes. The traditional medicine class focuses, is really a Debia hood class. So you're learning what a Debia is, how a Debia works, and so forth. We have a set of rituals that a Debia does to initiate as a Debia. So those are presented, and an opportunity to do them is there. And then from there, you will learn different rituals, different traditional medicines. You'll also be implored to learn your own traditional medicines and find your own medicines and present it to the class, and so forth. And then you also learn about Afa, the Afa language, and so forth. The level 2, as far as that goes, is more like an apprenticeship. So you're kind of studying under a Debia. Level 2 is a mixture of like class and what I call coaching, where Tusiaka, as we call it, where you go to class, but then you also schedule time with the Debia to do like one-on-one learning and like apprenticeship, right? So you'll be able to watch them while they work. They'll be able to watch you while you work and guide you, and so forth. And yes, so that's really what it is. So it's a medicine class. Level 2 focuses a lot on like specific medicines. This does that, that does this. Today we're learning about the head. Today we're learning about the eyes, that kind of thing. But it's really a general Debia hood class. So those of you who feel that you have the calling to be a Debia, or that you have the gift of the Debia, or you're maybe, honestly, with the last medicine class, let's say out of 20 students, a good 16 of them were already herbalists, were already practicing. So they wanted to infuse the Igbo tradition into their work, the work they were already doing. So if you're interested in that, the website is www.kedu.me. I would appreciate if someone can post the link. I don't want to lift my phone and start typing. So it's www.kedu.me. And then if you go there, just click sign up and then go to the medicine tab. But if you're having a hard time finding that, email me or message me and I'll help you. Right now, I can't tell you how many seats are taken up off the top of my head. I think we have about 5 people that have signed up for the first medicine class and about 3 for the second. And I'm trying to keep each class at 12 people, right? At 12 people. So if you're interested, I'd hurry up. And then there's a lot of people that are Ezume tier on Patreon. And if they decide, hey, I want to take the class, then they're in. So I'd hurry up. Odinala. Thanks for asking. Okay, there's some hope that some of their children of these Osu families, is there some hope that some of these Osu families will return to form? Gerard, in the near future, I don't think so, because there's just so much stigma. So I think that the thing that's going to help is educating people about our traditions, because once people are educated about our traditions, the stigma disappears. It's the people who are not educated on the traditions and the people who are like knee deep in the church that are carrying this thing on their head. But when people are educated on the traditions, the stigma disappears. A lot of times you'll hear these communities say that, oh, we don't practice Osu, that kind of thing. It kind of just tells you that they know what they're doing, right? Because most people associate it with the stigma. So they think if there's no stigma, there's no practice. But again, if Auru is committed, they know who to get to clear that thing out. So yes, you do practice it. You guys are just not ignorant and don't have a stigma about it, right? But yeah, even like in a lot of places, the traditional ruler, as they call it now, the Eze family, the Osu, you understand? But I mean, a lot of people don't know that. But in those places, they'll say, "Oh, we don't practice it anymore." But in the places where there's a strong stigma, I think a major education campaign has to go about, and a general attitude against discrimination. Period, in any form, right? So because if you allow the spirit of discrimination to live in one place, everybody will feel it, right? There's an ilu that says, well, there's two that come to mind, which says, a maggot that falls in fish soup becomes fish soup. There's another one that says, when oil touches one finger, all fingers become oily. So there's a fight against ignorance that we're currently waging as a movement, as a community. I'm talking about us, the village. And then there's also this next one that we have to start, which is a general fight against discrimination, period, right? Because once the doors open to that, everybody can get it, right? But yeah, the more educated people become, the less stigma. I think that's the best route. Um, and then yeah, we'll see from there. We'll see from there. I think even the families are saying that they're not doing that anymore. What they tend to do actually is they'll move away from their community and they don't come back. They'll move away and they don't come back, right? That seems to be a lot of people's solution. Some of them will like they'll just stay in the cities. That helps, and so forth, because the issue is usually in their village, right? And then some people, I mean, they just live their life, they just live their life. I think the discrimination was really heavy in the 90s, the late 90s, early 2000s, and I think it's dying down a lot. I think right now it's dying down a lot. But all the ignorant shit happened. All the ignorant shit really climaxed in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? As far as discrimination against people that are associated with Odinala and things like that. Uh oh. Oh, never mind. Good question, Gerard. Thank you. Okay. Hey, all smiles be. Let me know if you have any luck finding the tab. I'm gonna just make a giant ass banner too on the front page, so we'll see. Or maybe I'll make it. I'm not making promises. I'm from Ohanze. I'm from Ohanze in Obingwa, Abia State. We practice Osu, caste, and many family bears Osu as a name. Okay, so let me make this clear, because this is some new shit that popped up in the previous 10 years. Having Osu in your name doesn't mean you're Osu. Having Osu in your name doesn't mean you're Osu, because now you guys are creating a situation where Osus are changing their name to some other bullshit, right? They'll take like their dad's name, so it'll be now their last name is James. So let's stop that. Osu doesn't mean Having Osu in your name doesn't mean you're Osu. The word Osu is synonymous with a genius, whether you guys want to believe it or not. It is synonymous with somebody who activates something or who triggers something, right? Somebody who can make an arushi work. Somebody whose touch or presence makes the arushi work, okay? So in the past, these people had a certain immunity because they were children of Allah. They were children of Allah. And as the direct representatives and children of Allah, you could not do anything to them because she is who she is in our culture, right? Allah is the highest. Allah is the greatest, right? Our people focus more on Allah than they focused on Chuku. Let me tell you that. This Chuku stuff is new. Like this Chuku, this emphasis on Chuku is new. But our focus was on Allah. It was more than Chuku. And so, of course, her direct representatives, her physical embodiments could not, or her human embodiments were immune to harm. So what would tend to happen is people who wanted their children to have good health, people who wanted their children to be protected, would call their children Nwa Osu, especially if that family has a history of miscarriage or early death. They would name the child Nwosu, which means child of Osu or child of Allah, that kind of thing, right? Child of the Osu. And that would cause the people to leave the child alone. There's also calling your child Nwosu as a flex, that your father is such a genius and your father is such a special person that we're going to name this person Nwosu, because Osu doesn't end with activating an Arushi. A person who introduces smithing into a community, or a person who masters smithing to the level of the original forebearer who brought it into the community, is an Osuigwe. So a lot of people are named Osuigwe. Osuigwe means that my father was a genius at smithing, right? Some people are named Osuji. Osuji, my father is a genius at farming. Some people are named, or I, the child, is a genius at farming. Some people are named um, Usunka, right? My I or my father, whatever. I got that master artistry in me, right? Usunka, that kind of thing. Master artistry, be it craft work, smithing, whatever. So there's a whole lot of names that have Usu that have nothing to do with Usu Arishi, right? Which is a different thing, which I mean, it's the same thing, right? But it's different, right? So yeah, if somebody has those, let me make that clear. I wish there was a billion people watching this stream so I can just say it to the whole world at once. Having Osu in your name does not mean you're Osu. But yeah, let me finish your question. I apologize. Bears Osu in their name. They are special people that don't marry a free man, only marry from Njoku or Maji. Okay, I'll do my. What is Okeite? Oh man, John. You're asking me about the the most diabolical concept of all time. I'm gonna leave that one alone. When we're ready to discuss Okeite, we'll discuss Okeite, but I don't think we're ready right now. But it's some horrible shit, and I don't want to advertise it. I don't want to advertise in the sense that, sometimes, like, for example, like, I don't talk too much about like the illicit trade of artifacts because I know that'll make people go sell their artifacts, right? So there's a lot of things I try not to talk about because I know what it's going to trigger. We're in Ugazi, so shit can happen. What is your perspective on the three-person in Igbo? Okay, on perspective of three-person in Igbo numerology. Example: person born on the third of the month carry a lot of numbers and energy. Okay, so I don't want to burst your bubble, Imazi, but months are fake. Months are fake. So if something happens on the 14th of the month, the 13th of the month, it doesn't matter. What is real is Onwa, which is the moon. What a month, the word month is saying moon, right? The word month is saying moon. But in Western history, specifically Roman history, the Romans decided they can just make their own fucking month. Like, who moon my ass. From now on, this is going to be Augustus month. This is going to be the month of Augustus. This is going to be the month of Julius. And it threw off the Western calendar. That's why the Western calendar has like leap years and shit like that. That kind of thing. It's not like an exact measurement of time. It's kind of like a chosen perspective. Onwa, moons. The phases of the moon, the cycle of the moon are the real months. So if somebody's born on the third of the month, that doesn't really tell me too much. Now, the number 3 in Igbo numerology is the number of power, the number of the kinetic, the number of the animating spirit, the spirit that makes something move from one place to another. 3 is what your chi gives you to actualize the reality your chi came into the world to actualize. Some of you have a great gift for physical strength. That is your ikenga. That is what your chi blessed you with. Some of you have the capacity for clairvoyance. That is part of your ikenga. Your chi, it is your ikenga. Your chi gave you that because all of that ties back to who you are and why you are, right? Who you are and why you are. The Ilu says that, what is it? The Ilu says that if a spirit gives a child a yam, it gives the child the knife to cut the yam, right? It actually says if a spirit gives a child a yam, it gives the child what it needs to cut the yam, right? If a spirit gives a child a yam, it gives the child what it needs to cut the yam, or the whatever the hell I just said, right? And the reason I'm saying this particular one is that thing you are given to cut the yam you were given is your three, is your ikenga, is your kinetic number. It is the masculine as well. It is a masculine number. Number three is male. It is the number of the ram. It is the number of the ram. It is also the number of Afo, the third market day. Eke Urie Afo Nkwo. And on Afo, the third day, that is the house that houses Amadioha and Allah. Amadioha and Allah. So three also has a reproductive power. Three is the reproductive power. Two is being, and two beings create a third. Two beings create a third, right? So three is also associated with the reproductive power. Because while your ikenga sits there, and you're like, if we look at the layers of mo, on your third space, both your ikenga and your omumu, your ikenga and your omumu both sit there, and together they are a reproductive, recreative power, right? Your omumu is your procreative, creative, birthing energy. It is associated with your ability to manifest, your ability, be it real human beings, concepts, and so forth. It is also the omumu is also your magnetic power in the world, right? So your capacity to manifest, your capacity to draw things to you that you wish to draw to you, and so forth. So all of that is encompassed in the number three, Afo Odinma. And like I said to the person earlier, I ain't got nothing to do with no damn India. uh, I gotta up my Igbo for these ones, Odinma. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, so no, oh yeah, Odumeje, none of that was Igbo. All that Abido Sheka, Gandus, Gaga, it's English. If you wanna catch how you can't explain a joke, but if you want to catch how funny it is, all that was English. All of that was English. So what can you say about Igbo Ukwu in Biafra land? Okay. Igbo Ukwu, okay, so there was a lot of ironworks were found in a town called Igbo Ukwu, right? In present day Anambra. A lot of ironworks were found there. They were super intricate. Now, anybody who understands Igbo cosmology, if you look at what was being depicted, you will completely understand everything that's being depicted, if you understand what I'm saying. Those of you who have been a part of the village for a long time, Google Igbo Ukwu, you're gonna understand a lot of what you're looking at. You're gonna understand that crying man. There's an image of a mask of a man that's crying. You're gonna understand a whole lot of different things because a lot of those were cosmological concepts, right? A lot of things were depicted were cosmological concepts. You're going to see this. It's like a dome, and then it has like I'm trying to remember the word for it. The something the what is it the something donut, the something donut. It's a concept in physics. It's like a vortex kind of shape or a vertices kind of thing going on, and it's a donut shape, but it's got a bunch of like lines that are like crossing and things like that. The Horus, I think it's the Horus donut. It's called the Horus donut. Either way, they talk about it. It's been depicted in physics as well, in like Western physics as well. So there's a donut that looks like that as well in Igbo Ukwu. Now, if you've been a part of the village for long enough, you will understand the concept of ete. the strings and the pathways in and out of existence. And that is what those lines are on the thing. So Iboku was an archaeological site where they found a lot of stuff from like allegedly the time of the Romans, but it's probably older. Who knows? And what's funny is, so I had a person reach out to me from like a nearby community, and he told me that his family has a whole bunch of those too, and that a lot of people in their community have the exact same things, but they keep it to themselves because they don't want them stolen, poached, all these different things. But this guy was trying to sell his. He was trying to sell it, and I was trying to convince him not to sell it. And he was looking at me like I was crazy. So and he's clearly stole it from like an elder. But yeah, the Iwauku, that general area, there's a lot of ironsmithing that happens, and so there's a lot of those archaeological things get found or were found there. And there's more. A lot of people have said, "Hey, we got this thing in my family. Hey, we have this thing too. We have that." I've had people talk to me about it. I had somebody from Abia, I think Ungwa, tell me the same thing, that they have the same thing in their place, but they don't tell anybody. They keep it to themselves, and so forth. So a lot of secrets in the land. A lot of secrets in the land. Thank you for that. The entire community of Senator blank blank are descendants of Osu. The name in their community is still remained Uhuru Umu Ekwe Osu, which makes them children of Osu. Yeah, sure. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But it could also be, again, it doesn't necessarily mean Usuarushi. It could also just mean that they were specialists. Maybe they're all surgeons. Maybe they're all bone setters. Maybe they're all tooth dentists. I was going to say tooth doctors. Traditional like Dibia is a dentist, that kind of thing, right? Maybe they had those things. That would make them Usu as well. But it doesn't mean that they're Usuarushi, right? Right. All right. So hold on. I've heard some people who are old spirits feel like they are trapped in a young person's body, hard for them to relate with their peers, can easily understand babies and old people. Yeah, sounds like me. Yeah, it sounds like me. I mean, I don't know about understanding babies. I don't really be kicking it with babies, but yeah. No, I can vibe with old people very well. It's just perhaps your agon has been here multiple times, right? Has been here multiple times. Some people have incarnated 2 times, 1 time. Some people have done about 6. They say that it ends at 7 or 8, but I don't know. That's what it said by Nebo. After 7 or 8, it ends, but I don't know. I don't know. I have my own thoughts on that. But yeah, what was I gonna say? Incarnation. Yeah, so it just probably means you've been here before. And maybe in a previous life you passed at an old age. I have a blue circular mark on my crown when I was born. Interesting. Hey, Monroe, good seeing you, by the way. Good seeing you. I like your I like your videos, by the way, Monroe. Keep it up. I have a blue circular check mark. There's like a little line in the way, so it's hard for me to read things. Blue circular check mark, my crown when I was born. It's still blue today. He said, now I'm not saying, don't say that this, I'm not saying this is Osu, but one of the ways that, so when they do akaraka, you'll have those lines on your face. And then if a person's Osu, they'll have a circular line here and a circular line here, and it'll make an X on their forehead, is what they say. It'll make an X on their forehead. So if a person's Osu, if you read their akaraka, you'll see an X on their forehead. Now, take that in mind and Google Igbo mask, and you'll see a lot of those masks will have the X on the forehead, or a palm tree. Sometimes a palm. A palm is also a symbol of Osu. So a palm, but it's an X, but they'll depict it sometimes as like palm branches, palm tree on the head, right? But all of those things are signs of Osu, symbol of Osu, and so forth. So if you, let's say Monroe, I'm not saying this is what it is. Um, that's not really my. I'm not there. I'm not. I can't diagnose, right? But let's say you build an Irishi, and if you really had that thing, if you really Osu, it'll start working, right? You guys want to know about an Osu in Western history? is King Arthur. It's King Arthur, the founder of Great Britain, right? The story was that the true king would be the one who's able to pull the sword from the stone. And then this little kid came and he pulled the sword and it came out the stone. So then, aha, he's the true king. That's what that is. That's Osu. That's Osu. So he is the Osu Beke, you know? Osu Beke, right? Jesus is Osu, right? If you follow the story well, he's Osu, right? The human representation of the deity, of the spirit, of the thing that we all face, and so forth. There's a whole bunch of them. So yeah, one of the reasons the discrimination is particularly ignorant, especially when it comes from Christians, is, you know, what do you think a priest is? What do you think Jesus is? What do you think all these people, you know, all these prophets and stuff that you're praying to and stuff? Who do you think they are? Hi there, Osu. Them blue circular mark. Okay, cool. What site is that? Maybe I need to type the Kedu site. Hold on, guys. I don't even know if I can type. I don't even know if I can type. Somebody type www.kedu.me. Thank you. Message retracted. All smiles be. Are you wildin'? I'm gonna hold this in my hand. Hold on. This is way easier. Let's see here. Educated or not, some folks are just gonna hate a group based on a bad interaction with a person from that group. LOL, they stigmatize everyone. Yeah, I guess so, but I think it's more than that. One of the big issues is that humans just want to feel better than someone, right? So if you draw a line in the sand, the next question is which side of the land of the sand is better, right? So if you give somebody an excuse to feel better than someone, it will take generations for them to let it go. It will take generations because a lot of people have that internal need to feel better than another person, right? So whatever the hell it is, whatever excuse they can conjure, they'll take it because in the end of the day, that was their objective, is to feel better than another person. So it's an annoying glitch in the human. I don't want to not call it a glitch. It's an annoying little thing about humans that we have. It's annoying to me because I don't like it. It's repulsive to me. I saw this Igbo Christian and a Dibia on a Jubilee debate of African spirituality. It was rough. Okay. I haven't seen that. I hope the DBA represented well. I hope the DBA represented well. Why is Cola Nut not broken at wakes / celebration of life? I had gone to one this weekend and it was on itinerary, but the chief said traditionally we don't break cola for this kind of evasion because it's almost like it's you're celebrating, like you're happy about the death, but it's like you don't want it to like you're not inviting it to keep happening. You know what I mean? Like it's not it's still a tragedy, right? It's not some shit you want to keep happening, right? I don't. You know, let's say the spirit of death is in the room and you give him cola. Part of me giving you cola is saying, you know what, I welcome you to my home and I welcome you to continue coming and continue coming. And every time you come, I will embrace you in full. We are now one, so on and so forth. And, you know, death, we respect death. We understand death. We know death isn't a tragedy, but we don't want to die. You know, we don't want our loved ones to die and that kind of thing. So you don't break RG for that kind of thing. No, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. I understand. But they had a priest pray over it, and then they passed around whole ones. Well, that's just them being goofy. All that praying over RG nonsense. Yeah. I guess I don't know. Whatever. I guess that's the future, right? Ngwa spiritual system or Owumiri Ezenwa Njoku Osu Nze. I have seen diviners in my community still answer Nze today. I asked my uncle from my community about how they adopt the name. Yeah, it's that's I mean, okay, yeah, that's how they do it in Ngwa. It's this similar everywhere too. It's similar in my place. Oh, Miri, the same thing, right? Um, but yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know. Is your question like what an Nze is or how somebody gets that name? Ask that question again if it was a question. I think it was more of a statement. I found it. I just always thought it was a background graphic on Kedu. Okay, well then that's my bad because that's called bad design. So I need to fix the design so that it's more obvious that we're dealing with a button and not a design piece. Because you're not the first person to say I can't find it. I'm like, oh no, I made it a big orange button, but then like maybe people think it's just like a set piece. So I need to chill out and make it more obvious and easy to use. So that's a cue to me to fix the website. Does Do DBS have the same protection from Allah? Or is it just Osu? It's just Osu. It's just Osu. It's just Osu. Okay, so what is Awele Potts? Awele Potts, I think Awele Pot is fake. Listen, a DB is a businessman or a businesswoman, right? And so they're going to offer things, and it's up to them to show you whether it works or not. So if somebody tells you they have Awele Pot, they're the ones who have to tell you what Awele Pot is and how Awele Pot works and what it's going to do and prove it to you. It's not up to me to now start explaining somebody's product and saying that it works because I don't believe Awele Pot. I've heard of Awele Pot. I don't believe that shit works because I don't know. Who knows? But in general, what Awele is the way I always explain Awele is I use like an allegory of like a seed, right? So our ancestors would see a seed and would understand that this seed is a forest, that the truth about this seed is that it's a forest. You understand? So you plant the seed, but in order for the seed to become a forest, it has to interact with the forces, it has to interact with nature, it has to be one with these forces, it has to be one with nature, it has to be pointed towards its chi, right? Now, I'll give you the example. If you put the seed in the ground, right, it'll begin to sprout. The seed will interact with light by way of the sun, as well as the lipids. By the way, fat is the same thing as light. Fat is the same thing as light, the same thing as sunlight. So the fat, the lipids in the seed serve as the light until it reaches solar light, right? So what was I gonna say? So it has to have interactions with light. It has to have, which is eke. It has to have interaction with water, which is urie. It has to have interaction with soil, which is afo. It has to have interaction with wind, which is nkwo. And as it interacts with all these things, it then grows the way it is supposed to grow, the way its chi had brought it into the world to grow and become a forest. It will grow and grow. It'll grow branches. Birds will sit on it. They'll defecate. They'll have seeds. This will grow new plants under it. It'll bear fruit. The fruit will drop. They will produce new trees. More birds will come with their defecation. Other animals will come. They'll die next to it. They'll start rotting. Mushrooms will show up. Those mushrooms will connect with the tree. And then after a period of 100, 200, 300, 1,000 years, you will now see what the ancestors said about that seed is that this is actually a forest, right? This is actually a forest. All things, there's a book I have in the medicine library. It's called Towards an Igbo Metaphysics, though I'm sure you can find it online somewhere. Towards an Igbo Metaphysics. And the person doing the book sat down with an Nze, Nze, Nze. And he asked because if you have questions about these things, about like Igbo cosmology, you go to Nzes, you go to Ozo, and so forth. You go to DBS as well, but a DBS is such a specific thing that they're going to give you the DBS perspective. The thing I'm doing right now is the Inze thing, is the Ozo thing, right? Or the elder thing. So our people say that and they said this in the book Towards an Igbo Metaphysics, is that all things have four things about them: what you can see, what you cannot see, its maker, and why its maker created it, right? Those are the four things that are about everything, right? So the tree, that tree, Awele is when all of those things manifest, right? All those things manifest, right? Where you can now see what was previously unseen about the seed, which was it was truly a forest the whole time, right? It was a forest the whole time. On top of that, you can now see its full purpose. Its purpose is there. Oh, your purpose was to actualize this big ecosystem for all these things to live. just this little seed. You created this entire world for people, this new organism called XYZ forest, right? You actualize that. That was your purpose. And through looking at the forest, when you see the forest, you're seeing the creator. If you want to understand the creator of that seed, you look at that forest. If you want to understand that forest, you look at the seed, and vice versa, right? So all those things manifesting, right, in the tangible is awele, right? Now the reason I don't believe awele pot works is because people want to young people want to get rich, right? Young people want to get rich. So a lot of people sell this service known as Awele Pot, where you will achieve Awele. And they don't tell you all this big grand stuff I told you about Awele. They just say that Awele is like when you become super rich and super successful, right? Assuming that's your destiny. But if your Awele is part of it is you're gonna get hit by a car, so be it. You know what I mean? That's what it's gonna be. Is Awele doesn't just mean good thing. Awele doesn't just mean good thing. Awele is the actualization of the story. It could be a tragic story, right? It could be so on and so forth. Somebody's Awele might not involve wealth, becoming wealthy. But for some reason, Awele pot is always sold as like a get rich. You can be rich if you get Awele pot. Or if you do this, you will achieve your Awele. Your Awele will show blah, 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 right? Awele is not something a person can rush. A person's Awele can also continue after they die, right? A person's awele can continue after they die. I know that Martin Luther King, for example, he lived the latter part of his life to get these particular bills signed. These particular bills signed. And then he ingratiated himself in the hearts of many people, and he died. And then the people who had his more within them, who were ingratiated in his heart, they started rioting, right? Because you killed him. And these riots made the president say, okay, fine, I'll sign the fucking bill, right? And so forth. I think the second one, correct me if I'm wrong on the history, guys. I think the second one, the first one they signed while he was alive, but I'm not sure. But, from there, he was able to achieve, and then the effect of it continues, the effect of his movement continues even after his death, right? The effect of what he lived for, what his chi had brought him into the world to actualize continues well after his death, right? So it's hard to say when Awele is even achieved, right? In the West, I think they call Awele theophany. Theophany, I think that's the word, is when you can see the divine nature of a person, right? That type of thing. And if you understand how our ancestors conceptualize the divine, you'll understand Awele better. So yeah, I don't. Some people say they have Awele pots. I don't believe it exists. So I don't know. A lot of deviants are trying to. They're trying to. And I just play it. Everybody. If somebody brings a product to you, it's you have to ask them about the product. It's not me, right? It's not unless it's my product, right? Okay, we have traditional medicine class at Kedu. We have a Igbo language class at Kedu. Okay, what's Igbo language? Okay, I gotta explain that one to you, But I will part, so me, I don't know. Full moons are gorgeous. Is it a full moon? It probably is. I can't see. I think the moon's on the other side of the building right now. Taurus, thank you. The Taurus field. Yes, that's what I was looking for. How are disabled children seen in Igbo spirituality? They're just disabled. I don't think there's nothing particular about it. It's just that's how they are. You know, that's how they are. There's an Ilu that says that things you cannot cure. Wait, what is it? Adibia cannot cure what came with you from a past life, something like that. Adibia cannot cure what came with you from a past life. So sometimes that's what it is, right? In this phase of your existence, you're not going to walk, right? It doesn't mean we don't try. We'll try. We'll apply what we know and what we can. When the conventional medicine doesn't work, we look onto spirit. When spirit doesn't have an answer, you kind of just accept it, all right? So there's nothing particular about disabled children as far as Odinani goes, all right? Is your chi your whole or true self? Good question. What is the shadow self called? I'm interested in mistaking shadow self is. Or am I mistaking shadow self? Okay. Can you explain how chi and shadow self came to be how it interacts with each other and self. That's a lot. All smiles be. How many questions? How many questions you just asked me? Like the sentence isn't even over. The other question begins. All right, no problem. So let's take it piece by piece, and I'll try to be quick. Odinma. Is your chi your whole and true self? Yes. What is the shadow self called? Though, okay, your chi is your whole and true self, but your chi is, okay, your chi is your true self, but it's not your whole self because your chi has to interact with things that are also not your chi, and those will make you whole, right? So your community is part of what makes you whole. Your experiences are part of what makes you whole. Your interaction with the physical world and so forth, right? The physical world is not your chi, but it's a part of you. The water is a part of you. Earth, air, all that stuff is a part of you, but they're not necessarily your chi. So your chi is your true self, but it's not your whole self, if that makes sense. Um, what is the shadow self called? So as it was taught to me, that is moi is your spirit, right? Moi is your spirit, and within this thing called moi, if you want to think about moi is like an aura that radiates from you. The best way to visualize moi is the sun and its rays. The sun and its rays. Now, if you understand the sun well, you will understand that the rays of the sun and the sun are the same thing. It's not like a separate thing. It's hard to even differentiate where one ends and one begins. But the sun and its sun rays are one thing, but the sun is so dense and concentrated that it's physical, and its rays are, I guess, what's the word? Ethereal, light forms, that kind of thing. So your moi is this light form that radiates from you. But within your moi, within the moi of all things, there are layers. There are layers, right? There are layers. And so the what we call the shadow exists in two layers. The shadow exists in layer number 2 and layer 6. Layer 2 and layer 6. Layer 2 is the you that looks at you. It is your self observer, right? It is your self observer, right? The you that looks at you. We use the term atumatsu to say planning in Igbo or like a project. But if you go super deep in the meaning of atumatsu, atumatsu is the atu that looks at the atu, right? So this is the part of you that we're talking about. It is the you that looks at you. And there has to be a you looking at you for you to exist, right? Which maybe I can explain that in another question, right? But that layer of you is looking at you, but it is a non-sentient self-observer. It is a non-sentient self-observer, meaning that it looks at you, but it doesn't think or feel or anything like that. It just gives you the energy you give out. It gives you the energy you give out. A lot of your perceptions of yourself come from your self-observer, right? A lot of your ideas of self come from that self-observer. That's where it sits, is in your shadow, is self. The idea, your ideas of self, your feelings of self, your relationship with self. But the layer 2 is non-sentient. It's just like a mirror, right? So it gives you back what you give it, right? And then you get to 6, which is a sentient self-observer, right? It is a sentient self-observer. It speaks into you even if you're not speaking anything into it, right? It is a non-sentient, it is a sentient self-observer, which is layer 6, right? The DBA who taught me this, I can't remember what he called the 6th layer, but he referred to the sixth, I can't talk, the second literally as a shadow, olile or olili, right? And so those two layers are what a lot of, like, I guess, non-Igbo spiritual systems call the shadow, right? It exists in twos, and so forth. So yeah, but both of them give you back what you give it and what you give the world. It gives you back that thing. They also encapsulate your ideas of self and so forth. They are the reason why a lot of DBS cannot participate in immorality things that are immoral, things that are harmful, because they understand what they dish out. If they do something to cause the death of somebody, that thing is also going to look back at them and so forth. So they've invited that to hit them as well, because it sits in that shadow space. So for that reason, a lot of non-Igbo spiritual systems, and probably the Igbo one too, encapsulate the shadow as the part of you that almost punishes you, right? It's almost seen, it hurts. It can hurt you because it gives you back the hurt you give the world, right? And so forth. The kola nut, for example, if you're breaking a kola nut and it breaks in 6 pieces, if it breaks in 6 pieces, everybody has to go home. So let's say we're having an event and we break Aji and it breaks in 6 pieces, we all have to go home. You understand? That type of thing. So that sixth layer, that's what that represents. It is the you that looks at you, right? It is the you that looks at you, which could be a good or a bad thing. Being aware of it allows you to walk with it more intentionally. Odemma. My question got skipped. Well, thank you for asking it again, Udo. Do you know where in Nigeria someone can get a reading for their uli by an Oseora woman? No, I don't. At the moment, I don't. But if I encounter, I will absolutely share it. It's it's that gift is super hard to find now. It exists. There are people who do it. I just don't have that knowledge because it is more rare than it is not, right? But I have feelers out there, and I'm trying to find someone who can, because it is something that I'm interested in promoting and so forth, right? But yeah, no, I don't know anybody who does it traditionally. But there are artists who do uli now. If they do it with Oseara, with a spiritual eye, I don't know. But there are artists who still do uli. There's this tattoo artist in Germany. There's a tattoo artist in Germany who actually does uli. He's a dude though. He does uli in Germany, and it looks insane. It's incredible. He does it like as permanent tattoos though. Odemma. Pretty Kitty says hello. Udo Udo. Um, I heard it's powerful to offer ancestors white cola nuts. Absolutely, that's a luxury cola nut. That's a lux. That's a luxury. Are you talking about like ones that are purely white or green ones? Right? Oh, dumb ma. If your bloodline is from two different tribes, Igbo Ijo, which deities or Isha do you honor? Hold on 1 minute. I'm going to answer that question because that's a good one. Oh, I just found the moon, but it's like covered by clouds. I can tell it's a full moon, like a full blood moon. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Okay, I'm back. All right, so I just found the moon. It's hiding under the clouds. Odemma. Okay, if Igbo, Ijaw, and so forth, right? So, just face your ancestors and start from there. Be it Igbo or Ijaw, we're not particularly like when we talk about the Arishi and the Abara and things like that. It's not, they're members of your reality and they're members of your community. So you are in community with them, right? So it's not that Ijaw people are giving offerings to Nemiri, whatever they call it. They probably call it Miri, right? Because oh me. So it's not that Ijaw people are giving offerings to Owu, which is what some people call Nemir. We call it Owu in my place too, or call her Owu in my place. It's not that they're giving it to her because like she's their god. It's just that she's a senior member of their community, and she feeds them and bathes them and sustains them and gives them a place to live and does all these great things. So of course we're gonna give thanks and we're gonna honor her, right? And so forth. And so that's the psychology of it. So the if you are looking at what to focus on in both cultures, if you're from both cultures, focus on your ancestors, focus on your chi, your creator, right? And then once you're grounded in that, you can then start, okay, I want to give an offering to this river. I want to give an offering to the earth. I want to give an offering to the sky. Then you can start doing the more advanced stuff, I guess, like appealing to the sky and so forth, appealing to Igwe. all those different things. But it's not like, okay, I'm Igbo, I worship Allah. That's not what it is. Or I'm this one, I worship Chuku, or I'm Ijo, I worship that one. All of those things exist. All of these things we're talking about exist. They're real. You can't tell me that somebody, I believe in Allah because I'm Igbo. Allah means earth. So is it that what if I were Chinese, I wouldn't believe in the earth, right? But it's just what is your cultural, what is your culture? How does your culture teach you to relate with the earth? How does your culture teach you to relate with the river? And all those different things, right? But if you're half Ijaw, half Igbo, first of all, you're whichever one your dad is, right? In both cultures, right? So whichever one your dad is, that's what you are, and so forth. And then on top of that, they have a lot of ones in common. So Igbo people say Ekwensu, Ijaw people say Egbesu. It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. Odema. Oh, somebody gave a donation. Thank you. Do. I'll scroll and see who it is. Kitty asked a good question. The it is an honor. Okay, yeah. And then, Kitty, I hope I answered your question. Honor the ones that are relevant to your life. Honor what's relevant to your life. Start from there, but just focus on your ancestors, focus on your creator if you need something. And then you can pan out from there. A person who farms will have a different approach than a person whose calling is to be a musician or a professor, right? So Adibia is going to face Agun and focus on Agun in a way that an Ozo or an Nze are not. But an Ozo might mention Igwe Amadioha, right? More than a trying to think of somebody else than like maybe just like a farmer, like a that kind of thing. Though a lot of these titles overlap anyway. So yeah, it's just what's important to you as a person and what you are in community with. Whatever river you receive water from, thank her, sometimes him. Whatever land you live on, give her thanks, give her acknowledgments, and so forth. You know, that's really what's going on. That's really what's going on. Odemma. Good question, Kitty. In your opinion, do you think that Arisa are linked, or maybe Arishi, are linked to the same source as Orisha, Voodoo, and so on and so forth? They are cousins from the same tree, similar stories, functions, whatever. Yeah, it's the same way of seeing reality. It's the same way of seeing reality in different geographical locations. So, for example, now somebody in I don't know. I don't think I know. Someone like Oshun State is going to have a particular relationship with the Oshun River, right? The same relationship I have with the Injaba River where I'm from, right? And so you'll see the interactions and the understandings overlap because it's not that one person believes in rivers and the other one doesn't believe in rivers. We both believe in rivers because they're real, it's not a fake thing. But how do we then, based on our cosmology and our understanding of spirit and community, how do we interact with that very real river? That's what's going on. How do we interact with this very real sky? How do we interact with this very real earth? How do we interact with these very real ancestors and very real community and each other and then ourselves, right? It also informs how we interact with ourselves, right? My ability to appreciate river, earth, air, light, sky is going to, from my own experience, greatly increase my ability to appreciate myself, right? Greatly appreciate my ability to appreciate myself. My inability to appreciate those things, oh, that's when you start talking like a fucking European. That's life sucks, man. That's when you start all that bullshit. So, yeah. I hate my mom, all that shit. And is Odinala 3 is Odinana logic a three valued logic system? I don't know what a three valued logic system is, so if you can explain that to me, then I can see if I can make a connection. But I'm not familiar with that term. I'm not a maybe you're like a mathematician or something. I don't know, or a philosopher, or maybe you're just a guy who knows some shit I don't. They are. It's all nature. It's all nature. Thank you. Every time I ask Ifa or my Orisha Vudun about Odinani, they give me mixed answers. Okay, is okay. I don't know what to say. Why ask the wind about the wind? Why ask water about water? Creative force is spitting. Why is the sky blue? Why is water wet? I'll let the real ones finish that line. By the way, there's so many. There are so many Igbo spiritual words that are in Haitian, Vodun, and Lukumi. Yeah, so a lot of what you see in the Western Hemisphere, it's a mixture. It's got all of it in there, right? And it's easy to mix because we're approaching spirit and self and reality in a similar way, if not identical, right? And so it's easy to mix. It's just whose phrase do you use here, whose phrase do you use over there, right? That kind of thing, usually based off of what populations were there and so forth. So yeah, Odimma. So Odimma, Odimma. I know there's an Igbo Loa in Haitian Vodun. You're asking Omi about Well, Orisa and are not Vodun. They are not the same because the Orishas are avatars of real people who died. Okay, okay. How are people who are dwarfs seen spiritually? Oh, how are people who are dwarfs seen spiritually? Well, here's the thing. So the general idea is that all of these things I teach, while okay, the moon is out in full force. So all these things I teach as far as Odinani goes, a great deal of it or the foundation of it comes from a group of people who were described as dwarves known as Umu Ushi. Umu Ushi, sometimes known as Umu Nsi or Umu Nshi, right, depending on dialect. But I don't say Umu Nshi because that translates funny. But Umu Nsi, Umu Usi. So the Umu Nsi were dwarves. They were described as specifically as dwarves with dreadlocks. That's what they're described as, and so forth. So what I do find interesting is I do think, and I don't have any super concrete evidence on this in Igbo culture, but I see it in other cultures. I think there is a connection between dwarfism and people that would be considered as Osu or and so forth, then that kind of thing. I think there's a connection there, but I have reason to believe that, and I tend to want to see what I think in two places before I say, okay, this is what's going on, right? But I have kind of things that are tying to it. But I think there's an association there. But that's really it, you know. That's really the main thing. In Nollywood, sometimes they'll depict like a Dibia. He'll always have an assistant that's a dwarf, right? And then an actual Odinani person would say, okay, the power is probably coming from the dwarf, not the Dibia, that kind of thing. But that's just movies. Kemetic wall writing always had some little dwarf standing next to the pharaoh. There you go. There you go. There you go. Yeah. So throughout Africa, there's this idea about dwarf people being where all of this knowledge and stuff came from originally. And so those who are born with that, it's kind of a sign that they're connected to Umuoshi, those original people, those first people that brought the wisdom to the world, and so forth. And because they're more connected, they then become the one at the shrine, the one next to the pharaoh, so on and so forth. It's funny too because we're talking about Osu. Pharaoh's Osu. The Pharaoh of Egypt is Osu, all right? The Pharaoh of Egypt is Osu, is what you'd call Osu. So the dwarf standing right next to them, that makes perfect sense. What is the goal from this? One cannot hold every spiritual thing from every tradition on earth all at once and express them equally at one time. I agree. You mean best. Is your bloodline from two different? I already answered that question. If your bloodline's from due to, it doesn't matter. And you're from where you're in both cultures. You're from where your dad is from. You're from where your dad is from. Your mom joined your dad's village. Odemma. So, and the Twa people, Rwanda. Odemma. Does one culture's belief supersede another due to one predating the other? Well, if you look at their actual traditions, you'd have a hard time seeing where a superseding can happen, right? There's nothing like I can the masquerades they do in Ijaw land, they do them in my town too, which is a completely Igbo town, right? They do it in my own town too. There's not really that big of a difference. It's like language, you know. Sometimes behavior, like cultural behavior, right, is different. But yeah, if again, if you're from that part of the world, whichever one your dad is the one you are. I don't know why people like to come to America and all of a sudden my dad is from Imo, my mom is from Bangba. You guys are not making the statement you think you're making, right? You're not making the statement you think. You're trying to say, I acknowledge both my mother and father equally. What you're actually saying is, somebody from dad's town impregnated my mom and didn't claim me. That's what you're specifically saying when you say, my mom is this, my dad is that. So your mom is whatever your dad is. That she joined your dad. She saw your dad presented what program he was on, and she said, I'm with that program, and got with it. That's what marriage is in our part of the world, right? So she right? If somebody asks you your last name, you won't say, my mom's last name is, and my dad's last name is, yeah. So yeah, we don't, it doesn't, it's just whatever. It's whatever your dad is. If you want to talk about what supersedes what, it would be your dad's, unless you go to your umerene, your mom's place. Now, it doesn't mean your mom's traditions and so forth have been erased, but they're her traditions, right? And yours are your dad's. So, ademma. African spirituality within but adapted to circumstance and environment. Okay, this is a different conversation. For example, Mami Wata they venerate in is different than Benin, different in Igbo land. They have distinct personalities. Well, Monroe. So here's the thing about all these different places venerating different Mami Wata or whatever. And I'm not saying that out of disrespect. They're talking about the river or the body of water in they're talking about the actual specific body of water that they are dealing with, right? They're talking about the specific body of water they're dealing with. So Oshun is a river, right? Oshun is a river. Njaba is a river, right? Idemmili is a river. I don't know what they say in Togo. I don't know, maybe Volta or something. I don't know. That sounds European. But all them like Benin, Togo, Ghana, and them, theirs is the one they're gonna say is going to be the name of their river. It's not, and I think it got like Greekified, honestly, in the Western Hemisphere, and then because everybody, America has everybody's brainstem, it's gonna get Greekified everywhere else. So, but what we're doing is we're talking about the water we deal with, right? So right now, if you live near the Mississippi River, that's your Mami Wata. Now, the word Mami Wata means water mother. Water mother. That's all it means. It's a general catch-all term for water. For water. Whatever body of water, if it's Mississippi, if it's the Danube, if it's the Tigris, if it's the Yangtze, then that's your Mami. That's what you're doing. So as I'm interacting with this river, she's going to have particular traits that I'm going to notice or have revealed to me over time. And there might be slight differences from place to place, but water is water. Water is water. So there's going to be more similarity than difference, right? So we have this community in Oguta. They have two rivers, and the two rivers never touch. One river is brown, one is like bluish green, and they flow down the same stream, but they don't touch each other. They don't touch. It's like the river is striped, right? And so because of that, their understanding of that is it's like twins. It's two rivers, and they don't see eye to eye. They never mix with each other. They don't interact with each other. That's their understanding because they're talking about the river they are dealing with. It's not like a god of the river, if that makes sense, right? I don't think in any of those language you can actually say god of blah blah blah. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what's going on with Yoruba people, but like you can't say that Nemiri is the chuku of blah blah blah. You can say Abara, but Abara just means the spirit, the power, right? The force of Abara, like the thing that does, right? The life force. The life force is a good way of saying it, right? Abara. Abara is like more, right? So the more of Derek is also Derek, right? That kind of thing. So that's why you get those differences. It's not like a difference in the religion. It's just again similar algorithm, different environments. So that's what's going on. I hope that made sense. Shadow thugs. What? Interesting teaching so far. Thank you. Oh, Pretty Kitty, thank you so much. Thank you for a donation. All Smiles B, thank you. He said, hey, I need to find something to do when people donate, right? I was thinking about getting like I need something that makes noise. So I appreciate that, guys. Thank you. Let's celebrate their first super. Should I click the button? Oh, okay. Yes, I celebrate you. Igade igeto. Kobla iti aka oga denowa. Uh-huh. Is it true that aspects of Odinani that are only meant to be accessed or learned once you are married? Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. So a lot of what I teach on this channel, you don't teach it to people that aren't married and don't have kids, right? You don't teach it to people who aren't married and don't have kids. Now, I've taken the liberty to go ahead and do what I'm doing because I think we have hit an emergency state, right? I did this because it was revealed to me that we've hit an emergency state. But traditionally, when it was the sway of the day, a lot of what I do is taught to people once they're married and have kids, and so forth, right? So, even trying to think of another, even like, anyways, let me leave that stuff alone. But yeah, Odugo, yes, that is 100% true. Now, prior to that, you'll be told folklores, you'll be told parables, you'll be told all these things. You can witness these different events and masquerades, things like that. And then, if you're curious enough and you want to go deeper and start asking questions, and you're taught the what's behind all of that stuff comes together and makes sense. And then you're like, oh, okay, that's why this story went that way. Oh, okay, that's what this means. Okay, that's why this tradition is the way it is. So it's kind of like you learn to do it before you learn to think about it, if that makes sense. Which I think I've grown to understand that that's very important. That's extremely important to have it that way, to learn to do it before you learn to think about it or talk about it, that kind of thing, right? The reason you get like a lot of parents that can't really teach this is before they were married, they were pulled away from it. Either they started going to church or they've always been in the church and that kind of thing. So a lot of your parents, they've heard these stories and these parables that I'll share sometimes. Oh yeah, I know the story of this or the story of that, and they've seen the traditions and they've participated. But to go in depth doesn't start in their adulthood. In their adulthood, they move to Germany or move to the US, that kind of thing. Said exactly, child belongs to his or her father. Yes, there's nothing like half Igbo. There's no such a thing as half Igbo. There's no such a thing as half Igbo. Oh yeah, Ifa is so big here because Olukumi tribe is very much represented here, especially South America. Yeah, definitely. And I think Yoruba traditions have I think Yoruba culture has a particular trait as well, where it is it's like Chinese culture. It proliferates well, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it, right? I don't know how to explain it, right? If Yoruba people get behind something, it becomes very popular, right? So that's so most of the mega churches in Nigeria are run by Yoruba people because they're just good at persuading you, that kind of thing. They're very persuasive people. That's where the Yoruba demon thing comes from. So I'm not surprised that their take on the traditions proliferates well in the West. They're good at spreading things, making things popular. I kind of call these dwarves Martia. I've heard that before. Martia. Yep, I've heard that before. Even into the like it blew my mind. I was watching what we would call a dibia, like initiation in the Ivory Coast, Irago, but it was being done in the Ivory Coast or whatever they called it. And it was the same thing that the person had to go into the forest and come back when they see the dwarves on them. There are forest spirits that are dwarves that are real and people, and there are people who are born with that trait. Yes, on them, I feel you. This Western thing about the mother not joining the father's people, and the children not identifying with their father. Okay, hold on. Let me read that again. This Western thing about the mother not joining their father's people. Yeah, I mean, you have to know the history of the West to know why it's structured the way it's structured. And it's a feudal society. It's a feudal society. The people that matter are the people at the top. All of these traditions I'm talking about, the people at the very top still practice them because they're the people. They're the ones that matter. They're the real people. Everyone else is cattle. Everyone else is the herd. Everyone else is or peasantry, right? Whatever the hell they do, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just fine. Do your thing. Just don't rebel, right? Just don't rebel. Just don't shake things up. Don't cause an insurrection. Continue working. Then you, hey, if you belong to a catfish, that's up to you. Who cares? But at the very top, all these things I'm talking about, it's still real. It's still real. They still do it, right? That kind of thing. It's not. It's still what it is, right? The You go to a lot of the blue blood families on the East Coast. They'll have their family coat of arms, and it's not going to be this is my mom's coat of arms. This is my dad's coat of arms. This is the fucking coat of arms. My mom saw the program my dad was on. She got with it. This is the coat of arms. So, unless the tradition says otherwise, I think in Judaism they do through the mother, which that's their tradition. Oh, okay, David Hassan, you asked me a good ass question. I'm gonna get there. My father's mother is Igbo. His father is Ijo. I am seeking the original spiritual doctrine. There's no doctrine. There's no doctrine. Before getting tweaked. Okay. When women were honored in matriarchal oh, before it was tweaked. Okay, before it was altered. Okay, so there's no doctrine. There's no doctrine. Again, it's a relationship. It's a relationship, and it once you understand, it's important for you to understand that it's a way of relating to reality, right? It's a way of relating to reality. And yeah. So father's mother Igbo, father Ijo. I think that's Ijo. Yeah, I don't know, but it's not. I don't know. I don't know. I think there's a lot in your question we can discuss, but I will carry on. I think I've spent a lot of time on this. Um, you said a body is an all four. How? Yeah, yeah. The all four and the body are the same thing. They are one and the same. They are. It said reconnecting, so I hope you guys heard what I just said. So the body comes from Allah. Okay, let me put it this way. The Alpha comes in two parts, as all things do in Uwa, Bo, the universe of twos. It comes in two parts. The Alpha comes as Alpha, and it comes as Ugu. Ugu, right? The Alpha is the physical thing you can hold, that staff, right? The staff. You understand? All because it is physical, because it plays that particular role, it is the feminine end of the thing, right? And your body is also the feminine because the body manifests in twos. And if you understand that relationship of twos where there's a tangible feminine and an intangible masculine, a conceptual masculine, tangible feminine, conceptual masculine, a lot of Odinani now starts coming together. It starts, oh, okay, I get it, I get it. Because this is the DNA helix that all things are created from. This is the foundation of understanding as far as our ancestors go, right? So when it comes to Ofo, Ofo is the feminine end. Ofo, because it's the feminine, it is connected to all of the feminine elements of creation, such as Allah, the earth, such as Allah, the earth, right? Allah, the earth. The Ogun is the masculine, the intangible. Because it is masculine, it is connected to all of the intangibles, such as Igwe, sky. Igwe, sky. Okay? So your body and an Ofo do the same thing. Your body and Ofo and sand or soil do the same thing. So if you don't have an Ofo, you can pick up soil and use soil to swear, to manifest, and so forth, right? To swear, to manifest, and so forth. If you put a seed in soil, it'll come to life, right? This is going to sound morbid, but if you put a seed on a human body, on a dead human body, it'll bring life. It'll come to life, right? And the general idea is the Ofo makes things real. The Ofo brings things to life, right? Ofo nenyendo, Ofo bundo, Ofo is life, right? So the Ofo is the feminine end. Now, again, I try not to do too much cross culture, so I don't want somebody to like. Anyways, I try not to do too much cross culture stuff, but the way I'll put it this way, the way you'll notice like the older Ofo, I think the craftsmanship on traditional shit has gone to hell. It has gone to the abyss. Like people are so lazy with their crafting now. It's unreal. It's unreal. But I feel like back then, like all of the artists in the society would be locked into this, so it would look a certain way. And now, like the top artists are like all over the world doing whatever they're doing. So you know the talent pool is lower. Shout out to anybody who's still contributing on artistically, but I mean like the tradition, like if to get an all-fall made, they're always made very lazily. But if you Google like the really old ones, right, the ones that ended up in like the British Museum and shit, they're wrapped up in a very similar way to the mummies in Egypt or Kemet. They're wrapped up in a very similar way to the Kemetic mummy. The word awful means it remains. It remains. They are remains. What remains? Awful. What remains, and so forth. So yeah, the body is an awful. My body is awful, right? The flesh is awful. The earth is awful, and then of course the staff is awful. They're all interconnected with each other. Thanks for that question. What predates patriarchy? You know, all this archy, matriarchy, patriarchy. You know, I feel like that's. I feel like that's something for cultures where people wear a lot of cloth. That is a heavily clothed way of putting things together. This archy, that archy. I don't think anybody was arcing anything, right? Now the misogyny, that's a normal part of African culture, right? I'm not sanctifying it at all. But this archy, one person is ruling, this one's ruling, that one's in charge, this one's in charge. I don't see any of that anywhere. I don't see any of that shit in Africa unless a missionary or an imam have showed up in this place. That's when you now start getting the sultan of this, the king of that, the blah 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 blah, all that stuff, right? So I don't know about this archy that, because I know that where I'm from, the women have their leader and the men have their leader, right? And I'm not saying like wives don't defer to their husbands. Absolutely, you know, in a household, you know, it's the husband. But then, I mean, some women would have wives too, you know, right? And so yeah, all this archy, all this shit. That's like a European way. I won't say European. That's a Eurasian way of seeing things. It's a very Caucasian way of organizing a group of people, right? If you go to like a if you if you go to a if you go to like a if you go somewhere where jazz is being performed, where hip hop is being performed, where Ugene is being performed, Afro beats is being performed, reggae is being performed, um, calypso's being performed, samba's being performed, Armand piano's being performed. Hey, what's that Congolese? Oh my God, what am I doing? I don't want to call it Awilo. Uh, I don't want to call it Awilo. The Congolese music. Oh, and it's not that it's not like it's not coming to me, but like yeah, that's just my jam, the name. But if you go and plays all these plays are performed, right? Where this very authentic African spirit is running wild. Can you walk in there and say, I'm the king of y'all now. I'm the leader. You can't do that. That's weird. That doesn't make any sense. You gotta listen from now on. Everybody dance the way I tell them to. You can't do that. But if you do some line dancing, and left and right and left and right and left and right and left and right. If you go to an orchestra, you know what I mean? So all this I'm starting to realize there's there are ideologies and ways of organizing the world that come from heavily clothed people. And that's not you, and that's not me. And it don't if you try to put it in and I use music as an example because it's one of the last places where we're authentically ourselves, right? We're one of the last places where we're just authentically ourselves. But I know as a fact that you're not gonna come to like my town in Igbo and start telling oh from now on I'm in charge. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Go to the family reunion. I'm the one that's what are you talking about? You know, that has nothing to do with all this archy shit. Nobody was running anybody, right? Nobody was running anybody. Of course, when the imams showed up and power is intoxicating. I'm not saying that if you see if you don't have this dynamic and the dynamic comes, it's going to be attractive to people because people want to feel better than people, and then because it's attractive, it's going to take over, right? So let's not like try to repaint this archy that. I don't think that's what it was. I don't think that's what's going on. People always do this thing where it's like, oh man, there were all these powerful African queens in the past. Yeah, yeah, that's normal. It's 50% of us. Yeah, but if you think there was some archy shit going on, it'll blow your mind every time you see it. But you see it so much that you begin wondering, am I seeing an anomaly? Or am I assuming this is an anomaly? Because I keep thinking it's this other thing and when it's actually this other thing, right? You can't put a group of I'm just gonna say it blunt, you can't put a group of black people together and start arcing. I'm the me I'm like we talk about like gangs in America and like all them Vlad people and shit, they'll be like, see the Mexican gang, they have structure, they have the leader, and everybody has to listen to the leader, and woo woo woo. And the black gangs, they don't want to listen to the leader. Woo woo woo. Okay, okay. Look, we're both being ignorant. You're being ignorant this way, I'm being ignorant that way. Why is your ignorant better than my ignorant, right? Once I listen to the leader, does MS-13 stop killing people? Like, no, it's still the same stupid shit, right? But we just have a different way of flowing, right? We have a different way of flowing, we have a different way of operating, you know? It's not like nobody's a damn irky over anybody here. Anyways, I think that's today's rant. I always have one rant, right? I don't Yeah, let's leave that irky shit alone. That's for people that like when you go out to the sun it hurts. And then you start you go back and then you go back in the cave and you're like, all right, I'm gonna man, I swear to God, when it gets darker, I'm gonna start running. You know what I mean? So having some different kinds of thoughts, you know. But me, I go outside, the sun feels good. I'm not gonna arky nobody, you know. So all that patriarchy, matriarchy, that's them. That's those people. Them, super chat idea. A few notes on the Ogene Bell. Okay. Okay, yeah. Odugo, I think that's a cool idea. I've thought about it. I've thought about it. I would have to get like a machine that makes the noise, maybe, or I'll figure it out. But I've thought about it. I've thought about it. Three valued, three. Okay, three valued logic or logical systems with true value of true, false, and unknown. Okay, so then is Odinani a three value? I would have to think about that because that question is way too deep for me to just come off the dome. Oh my god. Uruguay, thank you very much for that question. That's I learned something new, so thank you for that. Three valued logic system or logical systems with the values true, false, and unknown. Um, Odemma, Odemma. I remember those doors from Super Story growing up in Nigeria. I don't know if it's, I didn't have cable when I was in Nigeria. I was really in the village for real, so I didn't have cable. But is Super Story like where they like magical pot or pot of magic, something like that? Pot of wonder. You know what I'm talking about, like the show where they tell all those different stories? Super Story. That's okay, probably. I'm a single mother slash father to single mother slash father to my daughter. My ancestors are calling me to work out generational curses. So I want to identify real truth and teach my daughter the truth. All right. So if you've been here, pretty kitty, appreciate you being here. If you want to have like a one-to-one talk, like message me, we can do that. But you're gonna trigger my generational curses rant, and we don't want to do we don't want to do that. So I think that a lot of the stuff you're referring to is very specific to your experience, and I'd be honored to speak with you. So whenever you want to talk, just message me. I'm all over social media. You can also message me on Patreon. Another factor that may relate to political organization in Yoruba society prior to the fall of the Oyo Empire. Yes, Yoruba arrived during the last wave of importation, so their culture is fresher to people's minds. Maybe, I don't know. Should Igbo land adopt a system of government heavily based on Odinani? I personally think there are things within Odinani that are obviously more beneficial. My answer is yes. You're not going to get a no from me on that whatsoever, right? But I'm willing to say I'm biased, right? But whatever the hell we're doing now doesn't work. And the thing we were doing in the past, you're not going to find anybody that says they didn't work better than this shit, right? You're not going to find anybody that didn't say it didn't work better than, unless they're like hyper ignorant, right? And then there's like, they're going to be a few. But you ask anybody above the age of 50, this question you ask me, and they're all going to say, oh, yeah, yeah, for sure, right? The way my dad puts it is this: if our elected officials swore on awful, if they swore on awful instead of the Bible, no, there would there would be no corruption in Nigeria, right? And I was like, okay, so why don't they implement it? And my dad said, because they want to steal money, you know. And I was like, oh yeah, duh, right? So the agenda is to steal the money. So if you're trying to get rich and flex, that all this Odinani stuff might get in your way. Now here's people read the book Things Fall Apart, and there was something very interesting at the end, and I don't know if everybody catches the same interpretation as I did, but I caught this interpretation. So at the end of Things Fall Apart, a lot of the people started like siding with the church over Okonkwo, who was an ass, he was a mean guy. And so he goes, okay, you people are Christian, right? You're this new thing. Okay, let the Christians among you, I don't know how he said it, let the Christians among you take me off this tree. And then he hung himself, right? Because in our tradition, suicide is aru, or I can't say unaliving, self unaliving, I don't know, is aru, right? And so because it's suicide, what the fuck, we're adults. So is aru, it's aru. And so because of that, you can't touch a body that has done that, right? And so even though these people had converted to this new religion, nobody would take them off the tree, right? And that part of the tree, and you have to think of the author too. The author Chinua Achebe is an Anglican, right? And I think what he was saying is that at people's core, they really haven't changed, right? They really haven't changed. But what the Western ideology and what Christianity helps them do is be able to circumvent cultural inconveniences, right? To circumvent cultural inconveniences. So if your family has Aguishi and you are supposed to serve as the DB of the community, you can circumvent that by saying, oh, but I'm a Christian, I don't do that, wah, 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 right? That kind of thing. So it becomes a mess where the Christianity, they use traditional practices to circumvent accountability in Christianity, and they use Christianity to circumvent accountability in the traditional sense, right? And so it's just kind of this hot, unaccountable mess that's going on. And that's kind of what's keeping all the confusion alive. So I think they should pick a side, and I'm willing to say that the Odinani side would produce better results, just because thousands of years people have governed themselves with this thing and survived past the lifespans of several empires and so forth. So I don't know. Like, the Western system is based on the Romans, but they're all fucking dead and we're still here. So, where we're running to, I'll do my. So, how would an Odinani based government look like? Well, probably look like what our ancestors were doing prior, right? So, what did government look like prior to whatever we're doing now? So, in Igbo culture, government was run by the Aha, a thing known as the Aha, right? So the Aha was the assembly of the family representatives. Every family would send their Ejiofo, the person holding their family ofo. They would send their Ejiofo to the Aha to represent them. On the women's side, they had two types of governing bodies. This is the Umuada. These are the women that were born in a land, and Ndinyem, the women, three governments actually. Ndinyem, the women who married into that land, and then there is the Ahia, right? The Ahia, the women's market. All women have a stall in the market, and if you have a stall in the market, you now become a part of the governing body of that market. The women managed everything pertaining to commerce and like roads, footpaths, things like that. The men would manage things pertaining to like diplomacy, military, and so forth. And then whenever there's disputes here and there and so on and so forth. Another thing that would happen was the Aha was called based on need. The Aha was called based on need. So imagine if like Congress assembled when an issue arose that needed them to resolve the issue, right? So I kind of get skeptical at this idea from the West of this permanent government where a bunch of people gather in the Senate and the Congress and their job is to sit there and think of shit to make laws about, right? 24/7. I mean, they take a lot of vacations and things like that, but like sit there like, okay, oh, what about abortion? Yeah, yeah, we ain't done nothing about that. Okay, yeah. What about goddamn grass? Some people's grass is too tall. Yeah, yeah, let's do that. And so they sit there just making these things, making these things, that kind of thing. Because ultimately, our ancestors understand that law is internal. People's laws come from the inside out, right? So you can call the speed limit whatever it is, but people on the road will tell you what the actual speed limit is. Anybody that's lived in Houston, Texas will tell you this, right? The speed limit can say 45 all it wants. What is inside the people says this road is a 65 road. And that's just what it's going to be, right? That kind of thing. But if something emerges, right, a conflict with another community, or like some type of act or something is spreading through the community, it's becoming a problem, the Aha will be assembled. Somebody who has an Alfa, the Alfa holders will say, I'm assembling Aha at my house. I'm assembling Aha at the meeting grounds and so forth. And this is the men's side. I'll get to the women's side in a minute, right? And so the Aha would sit around, they would deliberate, and then they would vote. Now, one of the things about the deliberation is everybody comes to the Aha with their family Alfa in their hands, right? And we understand that when you're holding Alfa, you don't lie. Like, for example, now this particular concept, remember I told you earlier, the Alfa and soil are connected. They're the same, right? So you'll hear like in the African American tradition, somebody will be like, swear on whoever's grave, right? I mean, most Americans say it now, but that's where it came from. Swear on this person's grave, right? Swear on that person's grave. That's awful. That's what that is, right? So at all times you're swearing on, as you're speaking, you're swearing on someone's grave, and on top of that, your entire all of your ancestors and all of your living and all of your non-living are all being represented by you. So, and then of course you're usually a very, very old man, so you're not coming there to play around, right? So once the Aha deliberates, what they'll do is they'll assign somebody within the Aha to execute whatever the decision made was. Okay, we're going to build a nursery. We're going to uh, uh, clear this land to do this thing, right? And then somebody will be in charge of that thing. That person who is in charge would then go to what we call the obo, the age grade systems, right? So at all ages, usually in spans of 4 to 6 years, people are in within a generation known as obo, their obo, or ndiuke, whichever one they call it. And then there's that type of thing. So each age grade has a community responsibility. Every single age grade has a community responsibility. One age, especially the younger age grades, one age grade, you guys are the ones that clean up all of the public lands, right? One other age grade, you guys are the ones that stand guard. You're the military age grade. Usually like the early 20-year-olds or the military age grade. Another one, you are the people who do this, you're the people who do that, so on and so forth. Every age grade has a responsibility. So if I need labor, I would go to the age grade that does the physical labor, which is like, I think mid 20s ish, right? The age grade that does physical labor said, hey, boys, we need this and this done. And then boom, they show up and we do the thing, right? That is the system. Now, within the age grades, they have their own government within themselves as well, right? So the age grades govern themselves. They make rules within each other. They deliberate disputes. Like if two people in an age grade have a problem, they will sit down with their peers and they'll hash it out with their peers. Their peers will give them the justice. If the justice that the peers give is inadequate and doesn't solve the problem or doesn't mend the relationship again, they can appeal to elders, right? They will appeal to an elder, an inze or an ozo. They will appeal to an inze or an ozo or an ejiofo, somebody who has an ofo, to perform ipe for them. If that person's judgment is seen as inadequate, which usually it ends there, they'll have an assembly of elders. If an assembly of elders is seen as inadequate, they'll now take it to the Arishi, right? And nobody wants to go to nobody wants Arishi judgment, right? Because Arishi judgment, it can be very severe. It can be severe. Now I can go to Amadioha to settle my case. Now I can go to Nemiri to settle my case. Now I can go to Ogugu, which a lot of people still go to today. Now I can go to Chuku and Arochuku to settle my case. And a lot of times the settlement is whoever's wrong is going to die, right? So usually the case doesn't go that far. But if it goes that far, it goes that far, right? Sometimes like I've heard of one trial where like they'll put a boiling like they'll boil a ring, an iron ring, in like a boiling pot of water, and each of us have to put our hands into the pot of water and pull out the boiling ring. And the trial is that the the innocent person won't be burnt because they have ogun, right? But the guilty person will be burnt, right? And typically what happens is the innocent person is going to put their hands in there and flex the ring they pulled out because they know they're innocent, right? But the guilty person, that motherfucker go fucking and then from there we know, aha, okay, tell us the real story, that kind of thing. Another one I see is that they'll do a trial like that, but instead of you, the guilty person, it's the all-fault, the person that holds the all-fault in each of your family will be the one to put their hand. So it's like your old ass uncle is gonna have to put his hands in this water. If you're guilty, he's getting burnt. So a lot of people will be like, oh no, this is like Irish type stuff. No, okay, we're good, right? So one of the purposes Irish are built is for dispensing justice, right? And so they have some of them have these like means and methods for getting justice out, right? For actualizing justice. So that's how that happens. Now on the women's side, women have a three body structure. There's the umwada, which are the women that are born to that land. So even if they marry and go to these different places, when umwada meeting comes, they all gather, they all assemble, they all make the decisions, do yada yada and that kind of thing, right? There is the ahia, the market women. Right? The market women also have this thing within themselves called isusu. Some of you guys are probably familiar with it, where they'll all put money into a pot, and then one person is going to collect all of that money. And that traditionally is actually how the market women would make their money in the market. The selling of the goods was kind of like auxiliary to the isusu. You understand? And that system allowed them to keep the price of everything low because it's like they're actually doing a service for the community in having this market, right? So that was one of the things, and that kind of thing. And then they deal with, the affairs that they deal with, commerce, commercial stuff. From now on, nobody's selling alcohol in this community, that kind of thing. And then there's the ninyem. These are the women, the wives of the men in the community, right? And as that is, it's not like, again, it's not some archy shit where like, yeah, the women get their own little pity patty shit, but the men's thing is the real thing. They're both real, right? The Aha can't tell any of those three groups what to do. Those three groups can't tell the Aha what to do. They would have to sit down and negotiate something to make it happen, right? And so, yeah, that was the traditional government of the time. Government was assembled by need. A lot of the women's government, like when they'd assemble, they're coming together to like celebrate and have a good time and stuff like that. And like if a decision needs to be made, they'll make a decision. But for the most part, they're coming, they're singing, and they still have these meetings at home. Of course, they're not as like influential in society. In a lot of communities, some communities they still are, and on top of them not being as influential, like a lot of the women's ones are now like really tied in with the church, which that's their business and that kind of thing. So that was the traditional government of the time. Now, if that sounds like something we can replicate in the modern day, then which I believe that there's a lot we can take from that. Like I really like the idea of a non-permanent government. I don't think the government does what we think it does, right? So I'll do not cloth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Once somebody starts wearing too much cloth, they start saying weird shit, you know? Compa is Haitian. Compa is Haitian. Yes. Makosa. Yes. Well, I don't know. I couldn't remember Makosa. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awilo and them. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Awilo. Yeah, imagine everybody's dancing Awilo. Somebody comes and starts doing this to them. That's that arky shit, you know? We don't arky over here, you know? Bro, do you like X101010 Tassie? No, I thought he was kind of annoying. I thought he was kind of annoying, but I do wonder if I were younger, maybe he'd make sense to me. Because when I was young, Tupac made sense to me, and they had some parallels. They kind of acted similar. I mean, a lot of people my age are gonna be like, "Oh, don't disrespect Tupac like that," woo, 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 and that kind of thing. But there's parallels. Like, if you can understand what made Tupac make sense to you, you can understand what makes the 10 Tentacion makes sense to young people. But I'm too old for that shit, you know. I'm too old for that. So no, I wasn't a big fan. Um, he did have one beat that is one of my favorite beats ever, but I don't think he did the beat justice. Yeah, that Arky business has nothing to do with us. Say it, brother. Say it, brother. Okay. Damn, I must have been spitting. I can tell you for a fact, ain't nobody controlling my dad's mom. Thank you. Thank, thank you. It's so funny too. They do this, and it's like they won't even look at their own mom. Like it's like, bro, ain't nobody telling your mom what the fuck to do, bro. Like I don't, right? Like nobody's forcing nobody to do anything. I had a good friend who went back to Igbo land, and he's Black American. He went back to he's like he's Igbo, you know what I mean? But he's Black American as well. And so he went back to Igbo land, and he said something to me that was really interesting. I don't know if he's listening now. He said like, I got a different idea of gender roles from that visit than what I had going in. And maybe I'm adding words to what he said, but this was the essence of what he said. The essence was he thought that when the women did these things, it was because they didn't have a choice or somebody was making them do it. But he saw that that's just how they represented themselves, right? Um, and it was, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. And so I was like, yeah, yeah, but it's hard to explain to people that are primarily exposed to the West or like the fucking Bible because it's not familiar. That doesn't make sense. Like here, people have to make you do things, right? People have to make you don't do things because it's the thing to do. Somebody has to make you do it, or somebody has to incentivize you to do it. So when you see somebody do something, the question is who's making this? Who's the source of this person's action, right? Especially, and then like especially when it comes to like stuff with like women, right? And things like that. So yeah, it's not what's going on. Like that's a very like Eurasian kind of what do you call it? Mercy killing mentality. Like, you know, that's not what's going on. Like nobody's telling any of our moms, I don't care what culture you're claiming, you're all African. Nobody's telling any of your moms shit. So I don't know why you think there was ever a time that that was happening is beyond me. Now it doesn't mean your mom was just crashing out like a lot of these young ladies do on the social media, just crashing out on men 24/7. That's not what was going on. You know what I mean? Like at all. And at the same time, you're not gonna get like a full-blooded Igbo man and sitting there like, oh, I'm in the matriarchy. What? Tell me what to do, ma'am. That's not. Is it me you think you're telling me? You know what I mean? Like, that's not what's going on, right? What I tend to notice with African people is we move towards what we move towards, and there's nothing anyone can tell us about who we're. You know what I mean? The Igbo say "Ofo ma onye jia." The Ofo knows its true holder. The Ofo knows who holds it. So it's not. So it's not that somebody will say I'm the fucking president, but if we don't feel like you're the president, you're not the president. You know what I mean? If we don't see the spirit of president coming from you, you're not the president. If we don't see the spirit of uh, uh, I don't know, the matriarch coming from you, you're not the fucking matriarch, you know? And that it's just that's what it's always been. That's what it's always been. If you look at the history of like slave rebellions and stuff, the person everybody follows, they saw that that person had the thing you're supposed to follow in them. That's all it is. It's not a matter of, well, according to the fucking Igbo constitution, right? You know, let's be real. Like sometimes, and that's look. Okay, listen, I'm a hotep, right? Anybody who listens to my content that doesn't know what's going on, that's how they're going to classify me. And I'm okay. I like that. It's okay. It's cool. I get it, right? I completely get it, right? But a lot of that mentality comes from, let me tell you something. There's a lot of liberation ideology in the black space that is predicated. The original source of it is this idea of the curse of Ham. That's where the fucking Nation of Islam, Pan African, all that stuff comes from that idea, right? And what they're all saying is, how do we fix black people, right? That's what all of those things are trying to do. How do we fix these Negroes, right? These colorids, you know, that kind of thing. That's where they're all coming from. And so, whenever there's a difference between black people and other people, the first thought is, okay, but we're probably doing it wrong. Okay, but this isn't how it's supposed to be done. Okay, see, that's the problem with us. Da 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 da. That's where all that shit comes from. That's why Hoteps every 3 minutes. That's the problem with the black woman. Woo, woo, woo. You know, that kind of thing, right? Once you let go of that curse of Ham shit and just accept, hey, this is just how we are, this is who we are, and it's fine, it's cool, then all shit starts making sense, right? Right? So when I say, like, bro, you got a room full of black people, you come in there and start talking about, okay, from now on, I'm the fucking captain. What are you talking about, right? The shit, I can see it in my head. It makes sense to me, but people will be like, "Oh, see, we don't listen to the leader. We don't. Everybody wants to be the leader." No, fool. You know, if you're the leader, we're gonna feel it. If you're the leader, we're gonna feel it. There's no archy going here. It's not because your dad was this person that you're the leader. This never happened. Of course, when the Islam came and this came, people start talking about, oh, he's the Imam, he's the this, he's the Obai, he's the fuck, that kind of thing, right? We have it at home now too, right? The Eze used to be like the person who was like the first son of the community, so they would do all like the rituals for the whole community. Like, okay, they're gonna acknowledge Allah, they're gonna acknowledge this, they're gonna acknowledge that one, just in case the people on the ground aren't doing it, right? Similar to like what like Hasids with the Jewish culture, right? They're gonna do all the sacraments and things like that, you know, so the rest of you can go do whatever you want, right? They're gonna live the life and that kind of thing. And then the British came and said, okay, you're the king now. So now they're calling themselves Your Royal Highness. They're not sacramented nothing. It's just all this too. And today nobody even knows how to regard them because we don't even know how to see this person as like the ruler, right? As okay, this is the kid. We should just listen to this guy. Once they say something we don't agree with, we just, dude, what the fuck are you talking about, right? That kind of thing. It goes into the idea of how African people understand leadership is encapsulated in this, in Amadioha, So when a dibia, when Agun manifests in human form, we call that person a dibia, right? So when Amadioha manifests in human form, it is the person, male or female, person who, when the Aha, the collective Aha, make their will known, the person who takes the mantle and executes that thing is the Amadioha. That's what that manifests as, right? The person who takes the mantle and executes that thing is the Amadioha. It doesn't, that type of person doesn't always appear. They don't always have to be here. But when the push to the wall or when things get serious, that person emerges. And when we feel that person holding the awful of the collective creator, we move. Right? So that's just what it's been. That's what it's always been. But like a lot of people have this ideology that where they see traces of that in their culture and they think like, oh, we need to fix that, or that, oh, that's something wrong. No, that's just what it is. It's just what it is, man. There's some of you who are not going to understand what I'm saying, but this is actually one of the more important things I rant about. So yeah, nah, bro, please stop our generational curses. Yeah, okay, fine. Generational curse. Yeah, y'all gotta stop this that comes from that ham shit. It comes from that ham shit. It comes from, for some reason, churches that deal with Africans are always about getting rid of your ancestry curses, ancestral curses, ancestral curses. They never, never, never say that shit at white churches, bro. You never find a white Christian talking about some goddamn ancestral curses, ever, right? And they know their ancestors were bugged out. Right? For some reason, your black ass ancestors got all these curses, right? So your ancestors are minding their business. Instead of you paying them respects, instead of you acknowledging them, instead of you honoring them, you're like, oh, this cursed mother, I gotta fix this ancestor. And then it comes from the church, like, oh, you got these ancestral curses. You got only black churches say this shit. You got ancestral curses. You're gonna free you from your ancestral curses. And then you say, I'm not a Christian anymore. And then, in fact, I'm not a Christian. I'm gonna go into African spirituality and fix my ancestral curses. Like, yo, dude, chill. if your ancestors are cursed, you're cursed now. I don't. Ancestors, you guys gotta stop this ancestral curse. Everybody's got generational curses. Everybody got ancestral curses. And curses. Everybody wants to be cursed all the fucking time. Curse. I want to be cursed. The curse. Yeah, get the fuck off that shit. That doesn't even make any sense. Okay, what's the generational curse? Hold on. We argue all the time. What's the curse? That the abuse. I mean, that's just a bad behavior. You can fix that. It's not a curse. You can't come into an ancestral spiritual system and your idea of your ancestors is a cursed person. That just go back to church. you know, And hey, Kitty, I'm not saying this to you specifically because, listen, 4 years, I was 4 years. I've been doing this for 4 years. I get this generational curse question a lot. That's why it's called Ask Me Almost Anything, right? I get this ancestral. It's ancestral curse is on top of the thing that people ask me a lot about. So like, I don't know. I got so many thoughts on it that this is a very disorganized rant. But like, yeah, let's let that thing go. It comes from that idea of like curse of Ham. I gotta fix black people. I gotta fix the need. Get the fuck off that shit. No. What the that shit that? Can you guys not see that shit doesn't make any sense? Or am I just like a Martian? Like, am I just from a different planet? You know, talking about ancestral curses. Whole time your grandmother is just minding her business. All the time your grandmother's just minding her fucking business, you know, worked at the post office, died at the age of 71. Man, your little ass running around like, man, I gotta fix that cursed bitch. I don't. What did she do to deserve that? I don't. That's fucking man. What? Yeah, let that curse shit go. Nobody, no, you're not cursed. Nobody's fucking cursed. If you're a curse, you'd know. You know, you'd be. If you're a curse, you'd be walking around lightning, just be striking your fucking ass on the way to work, right? Not you specifically, kitty. Just anybody, right? Lightning would be. The floor will be opening, swallowing your fuck ass. You know, it's not the ancestral curse. What's the ancestral curse? Oh, alcoholism. Quit fucking drinking. I don't. It's not a curse. You just like to get drunk. I don't. And your ancestors like to get drunk. And in fact, if you understand that your ancestors, which is what it is, if you understand that your ancestors like to get drunk, you'll know a little bit about something about yourself too, right? If you know that maybe alcohol has been ravishing you guys for 8 generations, and you understand and you know your ancestors, you know exactly what's going to happen when you pick up that bottle. That's what knowing your ancestors is, right? Leave all that curse shit alone. It's always curse, 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 curse. Odinala. 2 years and you're out of office is the best policy for politicians going forward. Might be. Please don't allow me to trigger. No, no, no. I'm not. You know, like I said, I always say that I'm going to be a very intolerable old man. My grandkids are going to hear these rants over and over and over. I know once that dementia kicks in, man, I'll. Yeah. Like sometimes I look at Dick Gregory, and I'm just like. I love him. And I agree with every single thing he says. But I know I know that's where I'm. I know that's what I'm gonna do. I know that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I picture like when I'm old, I see myself by water. I see myself just wearing a rapa. I can't imagine anything else. And then if somebody comes to me talking about generational curse, I'll be like, "Can you shut the fuck up?" Your grandmother died for your fucking ass to be here. You know what I mean? You know, your grandmother died for you, and you're sitting here like a punk telling me you got curses. You know? I know that's what I'm about to be, man. I'm already getting there. I'm only in my 30s. I'm already getting there anyway. So let's stop all that curse shit, man. Ain't nobody fucking cursed, man. Ain't nobody cursed. How are they all cursed? And then you're just chill. You're not. You're the one that I got it. Well, get out of here. It's not true. Not you personally, Kitty. Kitty, I feel like you're probably new to the community, and I've just scared you off. I've just completely scared you off. So, Ndo Bika, you're my sister. It's all good. Once I start talking like this to you, I'm comfortable. I'll do my. The old uncle gangster is can replicate. I'll do my. All right. Thoughts on the Rema album? People are calling it demon. Oh, you bitch ass. What? All these bitch ass Christians that just can't let anybody have fun, can't let everybody breathe. Holy shit! Oh my god, yo, I'm gonna get. Anyways, my my man. I don't know how someone can live like that. Anyways, but I've only heard one song from Rema's album. I heard the one where the Nollywood sound that, and he turned it into a beat. That shit is a banger. So I want to hear the whole album. Everybody keeps saying it's really good. He's super talented young man. And he has a lot of vision, and you know he's one of us because as far as in the all more, you know, in the all more. But of course, you know, you can't. After a while, you have to just be like, okay, I'm not gonna listen to people who go to church. They're goofy. I'm just not going to like. All right, okay, everything's demonic. You know, okay, you go Halloween. Oh, it's demonic. The Little Mermaid. Oh, that's demonic. The moon is demonic. Your grandfather is cursed. Your grandmother's cursed. Your grandmother's a ancestral spirit. She's cursed. She's demonic. What else? Rema is demonic. And black people are demonic. I don't like that shit. I like white people. Woo, woo, woo. Sometimes I clip that part too and be like, hey, we've exposed him. He was a coon the whole time. I don't. But yeah, yeah, yeah. No, Christians, everything's fucking demonic. They're just dumb. I don't. They're annoying, and they're trying to get people assaulted now. They're trying to get normal people. I'm tired of saying Odinani people. They're trying to get normal people assaulted now. The regular normal Igbo people. They're trying to get them beat up by the police and shit. So we're getting ready for them. I'm actually looking for lawyers. So if you guys know barristers, lawyers in Nigeria, reach out to me. I'm still working on that, and I'm dead ass serious. But yeah, they're just moronic ass people, very bad, mean spirited people that are constantly just everything's bad except them. Every single thing's bad except them. Everything's the devil, oh, the devil. That's just I don't know. I can't live my life like that. So yeah, there's some things that you'll hear people say, and like you got to be in a bad place to take seriously. So yeah, I don't. I've never really taken them seriously. Of course, Rema's album's demonic. Everything's demonic. Everything's fucking demonic. So that's them. I feel like if somebody sees demons that much, how is it that you see all these demons and you yourself, you're not a demon, right? Because I look around, I see people and shit, so I'm probably a person, right? And I don't know, but no, Rema is the man, and I think I think the new direction he's taking is interesting. So I'll listen to the album. It's a ton of BS. That irks me. My ancestors are calling me okay to Igbo tradition. Crazy because a long time ago I really didn't care, not proud. But I'm saying, but this goes deep. Because I'm Gen Z, yet the call is loud at the moment. Oh man, thank you so much for answering it too. Listen, you and I have a lot in common. I grew up around a lot of these traditions, but I didn't think of them as anything other than just like culture. Oh, it's just what people do, right? I didn't think it was anything that. It was always interesting to me. It was always in me, but it was not like I didn't know you can go this far. I didn't know you can get this deep into it and so forth. And so, trust me, you and I, we have more in common than you think. Um, but yeah, originally, I like for example, I'd see people go to Njaba. My house is not too far from the shrine and so forth. I'd see, Ajofia, all these different things, Nze, Osu, Dibia, all these things. And, cool, but like I didn't think about it. Even like the game Okwe, that game Okwe. I found an Ilu that says, if you want to understand the universe, play Okwe. Play Okwe, right? So I've been, Okwe is Mancala. For those in America, Mancala is Okwe, right? And Okwe is something that everybody in Africa plays. Everybody, except maybe like all the people that came from like Spain, and they're not. I'm North African. All them Spanish, Arab people, maybe they don't play it. I don't know, right? But like the real African, the real Africans play this shit, And I've been thinking about that all week, right? So something as simple as Okwe, where you think it's just a game, it's not a game. Well, so there's an Ilu that says if you want to understand the universe, you play Okwe, right? Which is it says a lot. So maybe I'll have that in the video. You're far from a Hotep. Look, Hotep is just somebody who likes black people and gets into African or African diasporic thoughts. Now the that's me. Now I don't like the slur Hotep. Like I don't like calling because like I said, you can say it's the toxic ones or the ones that make up fake shit, but anybody pointing in this direction can be called that, right? So I don't. That kind of thing. So it's all good. Be careful with that as a slur too. I don't use it as a slur, but be careful with it because they know what they're doing. All of a sudden everybody's calling everybody hoteps. All of a sudden Donald Trump's talking about we got to find the black identity extremists, whatever they call it. What does that mean, right? Now what does that mean? That's me. When he said that shit, I was like, So yeah, I don't. But I don't think I'm being extreme. There's nothing extreme going on here. But And somebody else's, if somebody wants to see it that way, they can. So yeah, I'll call myself a fucking hotel. That's what it is. But yeah, I get it. But a lot of that ideology comes from like, how do we fix black people? Anything based on that, I stay away from, right? Because that shit's that's the wrong pretense. That isn't. It doesn't make any sense. We're fine. We're fine. We're people. We're normal. We're fine. All right. We're fine. We're normal. In fact, we're really fucking cool, man. Like we're really good people. Like we did a lot of cool shit. We do a lot, did do a lot of cool shit. You know, we're the source. I can go on and on about it. I'll start sounding like a hotep. I can go on and on about it. But like at this point, if you don't know by now, maybe you will never know. But yeah, but a lot of that ideology, a lot of its little caveats are based on this idea of how do we fix these goddamn Negroes. And I get it. A lot of it emerges immediately after slavery. For 200, 300, 400 years, you've had this idea pounded into your head that there's something wrong with you. And then you go, okay, how do I fix my problem? Right? And then you start making all these ideologies and putting together this worldview that's predicated on, once I do this, I'll fix the Negroes. Once the Negroes are fixed, we can now do blah, 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 fix this problem and that kind of thing. So I see where all that shit comes from, and I'm not with it because the pretense makes no sense, right? The pretense makes no sense. What the fuck? What are you talking about, right? So, yeah, I'm not cursed either, oh. Canaan, that ain't us. All them, Kadabra, I see you're going through it. Trust me, I felt it all. I felt it all too. So, all them, yes, now, okay, pretty kitty. I know man can't tell her anything. Yeah, but if she's feeling you, eh? But if she's feeling you, she'll follow. You understand? You can't just walk in the room and be like, oh yeah. But if she's feeling, okay, dim, that kind of thing. And that's how it is for humans, period. But Eurasians have it different. They believe in beliefs, right? They believe in beliefs. We don't believe in beliefs. We believe in reality. Reality is, nobody's running nobody, that kind of thing. Brace totality culture. I couldn't even speak my language. I live in Nigeria, though. Kadabra, congratulations. I've been where you're at. I've said that before anyway. So yeah, my relatives in Nigeria laughed at me the whole visit in Nigeria, called me yellow girl, but admitted I treat because of my personality. That's regardless. Yes, yes, yes. All them. You don't have the Hotep Shakespeare accent. What the hell is that? Yo, what's the Hotep Shakespeare accent? What's the look? I again, I mean, who can we call a Hotep that I don't have things in common with? I'm not saying this to disparage myself. I don't disparage. If I say something that sounds like disparaging, I'm not disparaging. You understand? I'm not saying this because like, oh, maybe people are gonna think this. I don't fucking care. You know what I mean? But if somebody wants to throw something at me, that's something they can say. You know what I mean? That's fine. So that is a canned word for and Negroes that like black people a little too much. Right? That's how you hold step ass, that kind of thing. So yeah, they can say that. You know what I mean? Like, but it doesn't like it's not gonna knock me off my pivot or make me feel away or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, it's something someone can say. I mean, you can't have somebody, talking 5% talk and I'm talking my talk and I go, oh, that guy's we're all fucking, I know what he's saying. He knows what I'm saying. The fuck. We get it. Sometimes. Most Igbo Nigerians, especially those in Lagos, are going back to their culture, just like how the blacks are learning about their roots. The war did a huge number on us. It goes deep. Yeah, Kadabra, 100%, 100%, 100%. A lot of that come from the war. Not cursed by ham nor by yeah. Just I don't like when somebody says ancestor, the next word that pops out is curse. Yo, you, I don't know why people like to insult themselves. You know what I mean? What's the Igbo perspective on cheating? Yay! It seems like a huge thing in American culture. Women are insecure about their partner cheating on them. Okay. Some cultural things as far as cheating goes. Um, I don't think it differs too much from anywhere else in the world. Nobody likes it. I do think that in African cultures, there's just kind of this understanding that men cheat. You know what I mean? So like cheating tends like you don't tend to end a marriage on the pretense of cheating because the mentality is if you leave a man for cheating and go look for a man, you're an idiot, you know? Like that's just what men do, you know. That's the idea in Africa. That's what a lot of African cultures do. Think about it is in my specific community. This is not everywhere. This is not everywhere. In my specific community, it is against our cultural law to know that your wife is cheating and not bring it to bring it to trial, not make an issue of it, right? So like she's cheating, but you just kind of keep it to yourself, right? It's a taboo. It's against cultural law, anyways. It's not like our rule, like where they'll have to cleanse the land and shit, but like that's one of the laws in my town, for example. Um, but yeah, I don't. That's a big topic. That's a big funny topic. I don't know, but I don't. I'm not gonna get fidelity advice from like an African culture, from a Nigerian cultural system. I don't. We just have, especially men. But one of the things that happens is like if a wife cheats and she has a child, the child is still the father's or the husband's child, if that makes sense. Like it's still the child of that relationship. It's not like this is my child with him, this is my child with him. It's if I'm his wife and she's my husband, any children that get created in this process are my children, right? So there's that. There is back in the day, Ngwa people, maybe you'll get mad at me for bringing this up or whatever. But back in the day, there are certain towns in Ngwa where they used to have this tradition called Iko, where women would have like side men, right? And they'd call them their Iko, their cup is what it refers to. They would have side men, and I have this document in the library. So if you're a patron, you get access to like my research library, and I have this document in there, and it was the men called Oha. They called a meeting so they can ban the act of Iko. So they can ban that bullshit. And then the women retaliated by saying that if you ban it in this town, when we go to do market in other towns, we'll just find them over there. And it became this big tug of war. And I think they ended up banning it. And the women decided, okay, we'll chill out. We're kind of wilding right now, that kind of thing. So it's a big, complicated thing. But, we're Africans, it's messy. There's a lot of insibidi. Okay, so one of the things people don't know is that insibidi, like the traditional writing system, a lot of the insibidi that gets a lot of insibidi is used. I don't want to call it insibidi. A lot of uli, I'll call it uli. A lot of uli is done by women. Like the writing is done by women, and a lot of that writing is like relationship talk. And people don't. That's why like you see the symbol for relationship is used so much. A lot of it is like what we would now call gossip, right? So it'll be like this person cheated on that person and he's not aware, but the whole town knows and they're laughing at him. Or she married this man, but he's impregnated everybody but her. Blah blah blah. It's like Maury shit. So yeah, that's one of the things that maybe if you want to learn Uli or Insibidi, it's the same shit. Um, that's one of the things you can look forward to seeing is ancestral gossip, ancestral messiness. But yeah, I don't, we're African, we're black, we're messy. It's not like but yeah, so certain towns have certain rules about like it differs for them, but it's not like it's not like something like deep Odinala stuff. It's not taken super seriously. On them. Oops, shit. Europeans are good from distancing. Well, they distance themselves from the parts of the ancestry that they don't like, and then they accentuate the parts that they do like, or they make up shit and they put it in the past and say, oh, that was what was going on with my ancestry and things like that. But they're not attached to the idea of ancestry and truth, right? They're not attached to that. It's subjective. It's something they can change for whatever reason they want to change it. Being erotic, we have to go back and embrace it. Yes, yes, you're correct. Your ancestors were married in stable families, your ancestors were married in stable families, worked hard, had a connection with the land directly. They were pretty blessed. Their children right to say hi to both of their parents. Their children's right to say hi to both of their parents every day in person. Yes. So was not violated. They were mad blessed. Absolutely. What you described sounds like my ancestors as well, right? What you described sounds like my ancestors as well. Okay? So when I hear people talking about ancestor curse, I've never seen it. I never seen that bullshit. Nope, you're actually from Earth. Everyone else is from the new world they discovered. Wink, wink. There you go. He said, leave Rema alone. The album is different. It's a good album regardless. I love Makala. I used to play that. Yeah, Mancala. Yeah. Okwe. Yeah. They say that game's got according to this Elu's got the secret to the universe. So I'm going to start paying more attention to it because I never thought about it as anything deep, you know? And that's the way Odinala is, right? It's a way of living. It's a way of living. And everything that our people do, it's infused with meaning and it's infused with all these things, but you can as you interact with it, it just feels like everyday life. That's why I keep saying, like, yeah, I grew up with all these things, but I never thought about them like this. You know what I mean? But I had to get older to do that. How to experience life. Then all of a sudden I can look back and say, oh, okay, that's what that is. Odemma. She was awesome at Okwe, Odemma. You said that Igbo have a ritual where they yell at bad things they don't want to happen into a pot and then smash them. Yeah, so certain towns in Onwaago, the sixth moon, there's a ceremony that the women do where, well, okay, so I'll do this specific one and I'll give what you'll typically see in almost every town. But one of the things the women do is that they'll say all the things that they're not going to experience. You know, you ever see like Nigerian mothers like pray, kind of like that, like this whatchamacallit shall not, you know, you see all them like memes and stuff talk about how Nigerian parents are poetic. You know, the spirit of failure should not enter this household. The blah blah blah. My enemies cannot defeat. They put it all into a pot, then they smash that pot, and then they all sweep that pot. So one mother is in one house, smashes her pot from the corner of like where she cooks. The other one is in one compound, smashes from the corner of where she cooks, and they sweep it all out to the main road, and they all sweep it away together, right? Everybody sweeps it away together. So this is one tradition I was made privy to. But for in general, on the sixth moon, what people do is it's like a cleansing moon. So what people do is they confess the wrongs they did throughout the year. They confess whatever, like for example, like okay, I'll get to it. They confess whatever caused them to experience failure. They identify whatever it is that caused them to experience failure, right? And then they whatever each tradition, every town's gonna have a different way of doing it, but they'll do something to assure that the spirits of those things are taken to the evil. I keep burping, or taking to the Ajofia, the evil forest, and then they start making their proclamations of what's gonna happen this year. We're gonna give birth to 13, 14,000 children. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Where our land will grow. Yeah. And that is because on Wa'agon, the sixth moon, you are again six being that shadow, that battling. element, right? So on the sixth moon, you face whatever is holding down the community. You face all of the things that are holding you down personally, what's holding down your family, and you make your vows to of what the remainder of the year is going to look like. You are planting these ideas into the community, and you are purging whatever is in the community that you don't want planted, because the next moon we now start planting. So whatever the hell is messing us up, we don't want the essence of it. It's more on these seedlings as we put them in the ground, right? We don't want their essence. They're more on the land as we begin to till it, right? So we purify everything, and then we begin the planting. And this purification is usually run by the Masquerade Society, whichever masquerade society is in charge of the town. So in my place, it's OU, it's the OU. So during this time, while they're doing this, the masquerade comes out. The main town masquerade comes out. Where I'm from, it's the OU and the Okorosha. So as they're doing their thing, everybody's preparing for the planting, cleansing, purifying, all that stuff. And then when it's over, OU goes away, the masquerade goes away, the masquerade society like is no longer in charge, and everything goes back to normal. But when the masquerade society is in charge for that moon, there's curfews, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, right? There's curfews, there's rules about what roads you can take and that kind of thing. It's kind of like that type of thing. It's not like scary. It's not like the fucking FBI or like U.S. government or Hitler or something like that. But it's like the rules change because there's now a thing in charge, and then they go away and everybody goes back to normal. So all them. I've been called a hotep as a slur. I can't talk. I've been called a hotep as a slur by a swirler. It's a lot of whir, but yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. Uh, I can tell you, and I wouldn't call you creative force. I wouldn't call you a hotep. You're just a normal black person, right? There's a normal black person. You know, it's crazy if like a white person brings up like Charlemagne, nobody's gonna be like, "Oh, you're a Wotep," right? But if you bring up Mansa Musa, all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, here comes this Hotep shit." So yeah, that phrase is suspicious. It's very suspicious. Odinala, sir, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well too, Gully. Oh, hey, Gully, good to see you. Um, what are the classes for spiritual Odinani? Are there dwarves in Odinana? How do I summon a mermaid according to that? Man, you came with a chamber full of questions. Okay, so I am doing well. I appreciate you for asking, and I hope you're doing well too. I'm happy to see your name on here again. I always like seeing familiar names. The classes we have are on www.kedu.me. Click the orange button. Click the orange button. The class is, and when you get there, it's going to say language. Do you want to learn Igbo? Do you want to learn traditional medicine? Either or, but if I think you're probably going to be more interested, if you're talking about, I think you mean the traditional medicine class. Now, here's the thing: the traditional medicine class is specifically for people who feel that their calling is to be a dibia and they want to go and follow that route. So, if you want to just learn Odinani, right? If you want to just learn Odinani, join the Patreon, patreon.com/the medicine shell. You and I can talk one to one. I'll teach you everything you want to know. I'll walk you through it. I have like guides and books and things like that that'll help you learn Odinani. But learning to become a Dibia is not the same thing as learning Odinani, if that makes sense, right? It's not the same thing. Learning to be a Dibia is learning to be a Dibia, okay? Learning to be a Dibia is learning to be a Dibia, which the foundation of it is Odinani, of course. The system is Odinani as far as a Dibia goes, but it's a specific type of person that you can see in many places, anywhere in the world. There's a Dibia in Japan. There's a Dibia in Turkmenistan, maybe, right? So that kind of thing. So if your calling is to be a Dibia, which is a healer, that is what that class is for. If you're just interested in learning Odinani in general, either just keep watching the lives, watch the videos, or join the Patreon. You and I can talk. We also have a group study twice a month on Patreon. So That's also a place to learn as well. So there's, as far as just learning Odinani, I have a lot of different routes you can follow. But the Dibia class, while it will teach you Odinani on a higher level, I would say like on a more advanced kind of level, that kind of thing. Um, it's for people who want to be Dibias, right? Or not want to be DB, who are DBS. Yeah. It's late in Nigeria. I stumbled across your thing by mistake. Good night. Hey, good night, Kadabra. Thanks for being here. I'm single for a reason. I do my no problem. Pretty kitty, let's help you find love. You want to? If you're searching, we have many eligible young men in the village. Good night, Kadabra. Kadabra, your presence was very appreciated. You're awesome. Thank you so much. Another one is black identity extremists. We're only supposed to be lightly black. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. I'm not lightly black, right? I'm not lightly black. I'm fucking, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're always, it's insane. It's insane. Igbo culture on cheating is based on his bank accounts. How many businesses and lands he's Yeah, 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 yeah. Nah, nah, it's always been messy. It's always been messy. Oh, the I know that having side please don't have side men, oh. Don't do it. You see, when I say things now, people be like, aha, see, I knew it. I'm good. No, 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 please, please don't have side men. Oh, it's not good. It's not good. I'm saying it happened in the past. I'm not saying it's good. You know, sometimes, please, I'm saying that people have always cheated, right? People have always cheated. These are the different ways it was contextualized and viewed culturally and that kind of thing. I'm not saying, oh, since the ancestors cheated, now you have to cheat. It's your calling, it's your destiny to have a side chick. Ooh, that's not what I'm saying. Please don't do that. Oh, don't have a side man. No, don't have a side man, right? Unless it's not what I said there. Instability is broader. Here's cultures. Uli is mainly Igbo. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Odemma. Oh, okay. Good night, Kitty. Hey, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Prayer warrior. Hell, if my man is going to have side chicks slash concubines and me, no, thank you. I'll remain single to my. Ah, but like, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, look, we're both Nigerian, right? So like, a lot of the men that do that shit, like the wife is very taken care for, like very, very, very well taken care of, and low key aware of what's going on, right? But she doesn't have the energy for that guy anymore. One of the things that we admit in Africa that we don't admit in the West is whether people want to accept it or not. After a while, women are just not that interested in having sex. Now, I know the responses are going to be, I like sex too. I like sex just like guys. That's the normal Western American response. Okay, I've heard it. After a while, every marriage, women just kind of tap out. It's okay. There's more consequence. It's less of a novel thing for you because actual children can come out of you and tear you apart. So I get it. It makes it makes sense, right? Women start having kids. They don't want to have novel sex as much anymore, especially with you know, okay, their husband, that kind of thing, right? So oftentimes, like I read this thing, I busted out laughing. It said that um like one of the things people don't understand about like polygamy at home is it's like older wives go and get a younger wife for their husband in part to get him off their back, to get him off their back, right? Partly, you know, partly. Another thing I read about is women who like Uriye women, women who are like from water. One of the things that they're very notorious for, I have my theories as to why. One of the things they're notorious for is they tend to like they'll like find a wife for their husband so that they can go mind their business and those two can go do whatever, right? They're very like, this is what I read. they're more detached, like as far as that goes. You understand? That's not their understanding of a relationship. It's just having some old man knocking down your back every 2 times a day. You know, it's right. So yeah. So again, it's always been messy. I'm not telling anybody to go do one thing or another. You're gonna do what you're gonna do anyway. Don't say it's the guy from the medicine shell that told you to have a side guy and a side chick because I'll do my. What are the indications of a debia calling? Very well, very good. Okay, so people, so I would watch my video Debia's Explained. Debia Explained. Just type in Debia Explained or AGWU Explained. Those two videos will guide you through it. But in short, if you have the calling to be a Debia, it's something that you kind of already know and it's already in you. When Debia work is being done, when Debia ish things are being done, when Debia ish things are being discussed, you light up and you gravitate towards it, right? You light up and you gravitate towards it. It gives you light, it gives you life, right? So when we had our traditional medicine class, it did not surprise me that a lot of the people in the class, okay, candomblé, I took a look there. Ifa, I took a look there. This one, I took a look there. I know this one. I'm an herb. This is my herb. I remember when I said, okay, everybody post your. I don't know if it was me or the teacher. Oh, I mean, I taught the latter half, but I don't know if it was me or the DBA that was teaching in the beginning. But one of us said that everybody should share like how they make their medicines, and people were just posting like forests of herbs and stuff like, oh, I got this layout and da 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 and this type of thing. So you already have that gravity, you already have that thing that pulls you towards it. You light up when it happens. Now here's the thing: when you're a debia, one of the things, like one of the obvious things is when you're a debia and you deny that nature and you try to move away from that nature, other things don't work until you first accept that nature and then go do the other thing, right? Other things don't work. And so, like, people who are debias, they experience a lot of like failure in their life if it's not related to the debia work and debia lifestyle and things like that. They experience a lot of roadblocks, failure, and that kind of thing. Psychosis is common, or I guess what we would call psychosis in the West, but it's really, we call it aragon, right? It's an episodic kind of shattering of perception, and so forth, happens to a lot of DBS. But then also a love for knowledge, a love of learning, and an ability to learn and take in knowledge and share knowledge at a higher clip or rate than other people. A natural fascination with esoteric things. Most of the people who watch my videos are this way, right? Most of the people who watch my videos are devious. This is just what I've come to learn. It's something you could easily assume, right? But it's something I've just also come to learn. Because I remember I mean, we still do readings, but a lot of people would get Afa in their reading and say, okay, you have Agun, you have Ishiagun, which is Dibia gift. You have Ishiagun, which is Dibia. It was popping up so much that I actually messaged Dibia. I was like, hey, what the fuck's going on? He said, hey, this is what's going on. I was like, okay. And then after some time, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, why else would you come to the medicine shell if you yourself are not interested in the medicine shell or anything? Like, so yeah, it's just, if that's what gives you life, if you know your calling because it's what gives you life, it's your sun, right? Conceptually, a location, the people, that kind of thing, everything about it'll give you life. You understand? From my own personal deduction, people who are to be debias have always had this journey of the mind. They've been exploring knowledge itself for probably their whole lives. And wherever knowledge is being discussed and shared and that kind of thing, they're ready to sit down and observe, right? Adibia is also the physical manifestation of Agun, the deep Agun, right? So a lot of which, if you can understand Agun, you'll understand Adibia, and vice versa. If you understand Agun, you understand Adibia, vice versa, right? I hope that helped. Can your chi altar be from another culture other than Igbo? Um, well, okay, so a chi altar is going to have something that represents you, and it's going to have something that represents the ancestors that you know, and then whatever else you add there is up to you. So a chi altar can't. The culture the chi altar is from you. That's the only culture a chi altar can ever be from. Right now, if you have an altar to a specific deity or something else in a different culture, that's different from a chi altar. That's different from a chi altar. Okay, unless that's what you're calling, that's what you say your chi is, then sure. Okay, but your chi altar is I mean, it's hard to even say it's of a culture, because if I'm from Barbados and all my ancestors are from Barbados, then that's just what my chi altar is going to look like, right? If I'm from Mississippi and I've been in Mississippi for the past 300 years, and I keep finding ancestors and they're all Mississippi people too, that's the culture my chi altar is going to come from, right? Culture stems from Odinani. Does that make sense? Culture stems from Odinani. Odinani doesn't stem from culture. Okay? Does that make sense? So if we are acknowledging our ancestors, whatever the essence of our ancestors was is going to guide us in the present and in the future. And that essence will be our culture. And that's, you know what I mean? It's not that the culture makes the Odinani, it's the Odinani that makes the culture. Okay? So if you have different, like, I guess maybe deities or things like that in your altar, and that's what you guys do in your culture, that's fine. Yeah, that's you. That's your Odinani. That's you. You know what I mean? I can't tell you what to put in your altar. I can't tell you what's correct on it, because ultimately you're representing you, everything it takes to make you, right? You're Ezum, the full you. And I can tell you what to put there to an extent, but then after a while, it's on you. You take over. It's you. Even the things I tell you, you're going to inform what that will look like in real time. Yeah. So it's not like I hope that made sense. Are certain things learned or taught based on age, no Denani? Yes. If so, do you have resources on what you should know by a certain age? All smiles B, it really does depend on like the town. That is kind of like how a town decides to raise its children. So it depends on the town. But I'll say this, I'm trying to think of some good examples. Okay, so I'll use the example of the Ikenga, right? So when you reach the age grade, I told you that each age grade has a community responsibility. When you reach the age grade where the young men become warriors, they receive an Ikenga, their first Ikenga. All of them receive their first Ikenga, right? And in that, they now begin to learn what the warrior element of their manhood means and what that's all about, and how to harness it, and how to relate to it, and how to connect to it. So I would say that's somewhere like late teens, mid 20s, kind of that range, typical military age, right? And so forth. And then as they get older, they will get another Ikenga. Once they're an established man, and then talk about men. Once they're an established man with like a family, they'll get another Ikenga that represents their new elder self. And that's the one, like if you Google Ikenga, you'll see these ones with all these details. Those are for elder men. And instead of just having a sword and a skull, sometimes it'll have something random, like not random, but like it'll have another instrument in one hand and another thing in the other hand, though it's usually a skull, right? And that represents that everybody's Ikenga is different. So like as a young warrior, you know, we need you to have the sword in your hand. But as you get older, we may figure out you're just a prolific fisherman, that your chi gave you this gift of fishing. So in one hand, your Ikenga is going to have a fishing rod or fishing staff. The other hand, it might have the skull, or it might have a fish, right? I've seen one with a yam on the hands and that kind of thing. So on one, that kind of thing. So that's how that Ikenga culture happens. Once a person is married and so forth, they can now start taking titles. Those titles have things that come with it. One of the things our people understand about more spirit is that once you invite a spirit into your life, it can teach you. once you invite a spirit into your life, it can teach you. So oftentimes it's not a matter of people teaching you things, but it's like you make a declaration, and all of a sudden, from that declaration, all of these different bodies of understanding and knowledge start coming through. It's the same concept in Islam, with where you declare that thing where you declare that like you're down with Allah and stuff like that. That declaration from the inside out will make you a Muslim, right? So there's a lot of that with the different age grades. I can do more research and do a video on age grades where I share more details at like what's happening at each one, right? But yeah, that's generally what it is. But like as far as all this like esoteric stuff I'm talking about, a lot of it you'll pick up just from being in the culture naturally. Most of it you'll pick up on some level. So like I can tell you, like my dad was telling me that in school they used to tell the story of Chieneke, where Chi opens the door and the explosion happens and this and that. That when he was in school before the Biafra War, they used to teach that in elementary. But that might be a story you might hear around the like being told as a young child. You might hear all these different stories, things like that, and then you get older, and if you're curious or if you go that route in life, you then start looking into the deeper stuff. So like it's not everybody, like all the stuff I'm sharing, it's not like all of our ancestors were walking around knowing this. It's just the me type of people were the ones that knew it, you know, or that because they were interested. But everybody got pieces of it, some type of interface with it, so that when you're older and you're ready to really think about it, the context clues are all there. The stories have been told. The songs have been sung. One of the cool things about the book After God is Dibia is that Dr. Ume, the writer, he'll like not always, but a lot of things he teaches like that's why there's this childhood song where we used to sing where it says this and that, right? That's why there's this childhood song where it says blah 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 blah. That's why when you play like the game, like okay in America, hopscotch, where it's like jump boom 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 boom, right? That is from Igbo numerology. And in After God is Dibia, he explains, I'll explain it in a video or something. He explains what that's about, right? Why the game of hopscotch is the game of hopscotch. You understand? Jump rope, double dutch, double dutch. It's African. It's from Africa. You understand? Where you jump in, you do, you hop out. You jump in, do, you hop out. All them little hand clap games that girls play, and the lyrics, you know, the little hand clap games, and the lyrics of them, right? You can play them and learn them. Then you get older, as an older woman, you now learn that this is what you were talking about. It's like, oh shit, I get it, right? So at every age, you interface with this thing in a specific way. And then as an older person, as an elder, if you're curious, you can go deeper and so forth. It's not different from the West, right? Row, row, row your boat, gently down the stream. That's a very esoteric song. I think it's from Masonry, right? So, certain things are taught and learned based on your cool. Pretty Kitty says I'm still here. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. My question: what classes of okay? What are the classes of spirits? Oh, classes of spirits, like European occult science. We have elemental spirits. You find simple glass of water, or we have the type of spirits you call. Oh, you find in a glass of water, or you have the ones you call. Not too different. Not too different. So you have, I guess, what a European would call an elemental spirit, which is an abara, right? Which is an abara. Okay, that is just the more of an element of nature, or like, yeah, more the essence of an element of nature. We have bodies that exist in reality that are just spirit, right? It is just spirit and it's unmanifest. We have spirits that don't exist in our world, but they can access our world occasionally, but they don't belong and things like that, right? So, I've never thought of classing them, but like it's not different from what they're saying in what you're referring to, you know. Now, when I say it's not different, I don't know what other bullshit they said. So it's not an endorsement of whatever the hell they're saying. I'm just saying, yes, there's elements and that kind of thing. Just know this, all things have more. All things have more. Every single thing has more. This microphone has more. I used to just think it was living things, but I learned it was everything. All things have more. This microphone has more. And then it makes you wonder what's a living thing, what's not a living thing, right? This wicker chair has more. And so, okay, the more of this chair, the more of this microphone. That's not what we're interacting with. Hold on. Oh wait, yeah. My dad didn't want to follow suit because it causes many problems between the wives and children. It's stressful, I guess. So I always tell people this. I don't know if they believe me. Polygamy ended in Africa because, or not ended in Africa. There's some cultures that still practice it. But if you go to an African culture where there's no polygamy, it ended because it was stressful. It didn't end because, oh, they said it was bad. Yeah, the Europeans said it was bad, but nobody cared. It ended because it was every single family that had a polygamous grandfather, father, they always tell you, I'm not trying to do that shit. It's stressful. It's stressful. Because what tends to happen is the wives will fight, the husband will have a favorite, they'll gang up on the favorite, they'll take it out on each other's children. The children will have animosity for each other because it's like, I'm on the, Bloods versus Crips type shit in one household, you know, and then they get older and they don't deal with each other, they don't talk to each other, they don't affiliate with each other, they don't associate with each other, nothing, because they just grew up in nothing but competition and turmoil and stress. So most of the people that ditched polygamy ditched it because it was stressful. They didn't want the confusion and the stress that comes with it, right? So that was what ended that for most people. Of course, yeah, the church was against it, but that wasn't the main push. Anybody that has a history of like polygamy in their family, they always have the same story. But then my dad said he didn't want to do it because it's stressful. But then my dad said she didn't want to do it because it's stressful. My mom said I'm not doing that shit. My mom said I'm not doing that shit. That kind of thing. So that was the end of that. But it's funny too. You hear a lot of like, people like in like America, like, oh yeah, we need to go back to polygamy. Even people in Nigeria, yeah, we need to go back to polygamy. It's like, okay, like, 'cause they think that like, oh man, I get to have sex all the time. Like maybe I don't know what they're thinking it is, but that's not what's going on. They're all gonna not want to have sex at the same time. It's just three women that don't want to be touched, right? Right, I kind of think. So it's just the same shit. Sometime around 50, postmenopause women get annoyed with sex and say, hit on. Yeah, creative force is telling the truth. I think there's this social pressure in America for everybody to pretend that they're all super sexual and stuff. Like, oh man, yeah, whoa, whoa, whoa. It'd be like, are you 50 years old and can't get an erection? Maybe you got a fucking problem. Why don't you pop this pill? It's like, bro, you're 50 years old. Chill out. Like, I don't. like, you know what I mean? Like, bro, take up carpentry. Like, what are you doing? But there's this pressure to just, it's seen as like a meat, like how you show that you're vital, I guess, and wanted. And so it's this perpetual pressure. And so a lot of people are lying to themselves. A lot of women tap out, bro. Like, and it makes sense. I got 5 kids. They're all teenagers. The fuck am I doing? Right? Yeah, but I've heard a lot of old women say that like helping on them. And then again, if you ask old women their attitudes on cheating, you'll think it's a generational thing, like, oh, in their time it was normal, but it's actually just an age thing. It's actually an age thing, right? Oh, never mind. Because also she knows that what she offers, the main thing she offers, is not that, right? And that's okay. There's a lot of things someone can offer. I think that's a period in your life. That's not what an old man offers either, right? That's not what an old man offers, you know? Only because he popped in one of them peels. But that's not why if somebody likes old men, they're not going there because this guy's got like rabid ass stamina. Like that's just not what you offer at that age. That's not the gift you have to offer. Theoretically and hopefully you have more to offer than that at that point, right? So yeah, but it's a culture thing. Um, but yeah, a lot of women tap out, and I think they're a little more honest in Africa. They're just like, all right, yeah, go run off with your little who. If I see her ass, it's on. I'm not. It's not like we're gonna be cool. You know, you still gotta act like this shit's not happening. But yo, get off my back. It's cool. You know, I'm 60 years old. You know, I got arthritis. You skip my question. Metasol. You know, I just keep getting to these. All right, Metasol. Oh yeah, ask draw malls. Oh, ask me again. My family lineage ended up with the same conclusions at what Pretty Kitty is saying. I'm only going for monogamous without cheating. Oh, never mind. Cool, 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 cool. Whoever said I skipped their question, Biko, just ask it again. It ain't that deep. Yes, that one must be addressed, Meta Soul. It's rather profound. Have you seen the video on astral projection? The way you explain men taking guys makes sense if the woman can the same. What is good for the goose is good for the gander, right? What's good for the goose is not good for the gander. What's not good for what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You're a woman, or somebody's putting something inside you that's very intimate. That's very, very, very. That's intimate on a different level. The man's putting things inside things. It's intimate, but it ain't that intimate. You know, you can do the same thing to a sock. It ain't that. Like, I don't, it's not the same. Well, these young men, they can. You can have their kiddo, and then from there you'll be asking yourself, is this guy gonna do that kind of thing? You know, you're not running anywhere. He can run. Is this a runner? Oh, okay, now I got a problem. It's not the same, oh, please. It's not the same. I know people are going to be like, oh, yeah, it's not the fucking same. It doesn't have to be the same. What the hell? You know what I mean? It's not, not you, pretty kitty. It's not the same. Just whoever wants to come with that other shit. It's not the same, oh. It's not, that guy can give you an infection. You don't, yeah, it's not the same, because you may have to change the name where the DBS get. Really, that's what it is. That's really what it is. That's really what it is. I'll do my. What are your opinion on women born on Uriye Day? That is me. So one of the another thing about my channel is it's very a lot of Uriye people, which makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. I get it. A lot of Uriye people, a lot of DBS, and I get it. Some say I'm a DBA. Who knows? Who knows? Some say I'm a DBA. So my opinion on Uri, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to meet them individually, but I know that's when we do our group studies, everybody turns their camera on. You just once you know an Uriya person, you just okay, yeah, Uriya. It is that kind of thing. So Uriya people are my people. You guys have showed me a lot of love and a lot of support, and I got love and support for y'all too. So yeah, that kind of thing. I agree. I don't scared to sharing my man when it comes to co-creating life force energy. I'm territorial. Creative force, are you Igbo? Yes. Welcome to the channel. Who the why? Okay, I'm probably skipping questions. I'm moving fast. I'm starting. Sorry, I think monogamy creates more issues. Okay, now we're getting into a deep conversation. So I think monogamy creates more issues in the big picture of life. The magical one heartbreak people spend their whole life distracting with relationships. Wow, meta soul. No, you're saying something real. Relationships are just I don't know. I don't think we'll ever figure it out. Yeah. But I agree. I do think there are some things that polygamous advantages that polygamous relationships would have over monogamous ones. And I just think mathematically as well. Like I sincerely think I mean, it's a fact that there's more women than men in the world, but I also think there's way more available women than there are available men, right? Um, and it just makes sense. It just kind of sometimes it makes more sense. Not even sometimes. There's an element of polygamy that makes more sense, kind of logically, especially if the women are okay with it. If they're which anywhere you see polygamy, the women are cool with it, right? It's that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I think that the West does have this idea where romantic love trumps all forms of connection. And so that makes the idea of polygamy kind of confusing because it's like, I thought you loved me, motherfucker. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's complicated. It's complicated. I don't think I can do polygamy. I don't think I can do that. That's too much. I feel like when a guy talks about polygamy, he's not married. He's never been married. Once he gets married, he's like, okay, yeah, one's enough. One's enough. One's cool, you know? No, no. Like a lot of men that aren't married don't know that women don't like when men rest. So people are gonna be like, "Oh, no, women don't like seeing you do this, right?" So can you imagine four women walking around, and like whenever they start feeling something, the whole room will feel that way, right? So there's like four of them just monitoring. His ass better not be watching TV. His ass better not be fucking. His ass. I told his ass to do this, and he's there watching TV. He's like, "Yeah, no, I'm cool on that shit. I'm cool on that, man." Yeah, there's a lot of things that unmarried men don't know about women, and women know these things, and sometimes they'll tell you that's not what's going on, but I got you, I've exposed you. I don't know. I think relationships should revolve around experience of self through the relationship rather than your whole life being about the relationship. Yeah, that's something you come to learn. I mean, like I don't know what your experience is, Meta Soul, but I came to learn that too. You really shouldn't lose your sense of self in a relationship ever, 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 right? Because once you do that, it's over and you're over, right? Right? Because man, y'all are just chopping it up. Uh, the more I go inward, I prefer to stay single. It doesn't mean that I won't love people, but my first obligation is to love the self first, then pour into other cups. Okay, I'll do more. Do you have in the library how to do declarations? There's two documents I need to write. The first one, oh man, I have an email. Anyways, that's a whole different thing. Is this all smiles be? Okay, yeah. So in the last group study, I talked about something that I need to write. The affirmations, like the praise names, yeah. So I need to do a document on praise names and then like declarations. I don't have I don't have those. I do have a document on like how to kind of pray, like a how to pray, I guess, document. And in that document, there are declarations. I wrote it, and there are declarations in there, but I haven't done one specifically dedicated to the declarations. So all smiles be if you can email me and be like, hey, you should make a list of declarations. I'll do it. I'm not gonna remember it. I'm gonna go to sleep right after this, and then if it happens, it happens. But if you send me an email, that'll make it easier for me to get around to. I would love to do it. I just might forget because I think it's a good idea. So yeah, if you need a list of declarations, I got you. Okay. Okay, Uguay Collins, I didn't understand your question, so I'm going to keep going. If you want to ask it in different words, I'd appreciate that. Talk about DB as an astral projection and how they use it in their healing practices. So, astral projection is referred to as ekili in our culture. Ekili in our culture. That is the ability to travel through more or to be present through more alone, leaving your body in one place and going somewhere else through more. Ekili is done, of course, by DBS for a range of reasons. Ikili has been used in war. My wife's grandfather, we just found out like 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, that my wife's grandfather used to do Ikili for like spying. He used to use it for spying, and he used to use it for like collecting information. So people would hire him to do that. And I was one of his gifts. He was a Dibia. My wife has is Dibias on two sides of her family, and one of them was like a hyper polygamy. Is But people were he was very powerful, and people were so scared of him that they'd be like, "You should marry one of my daughters," just so they can be safe. But then after the relationship ended, the story is that all the wives just ran to their different parts of the world, and the family kind of broke up. So. But yeah, Ekeli is a form of what's called Igor, which is oneness. Like it's Igor is like an art form, like a bunch of different things you can do. So let's call it a body of knowledge or a body of practice or an art form where you release the self, of releasing the self and operating in spirit. So Ekili, which is astral projection, is one, but then also spirit mounting or spirit possession, Igor Mo, we call it, is another form, or like spirit to spirit communication with something that ordinarily you wouldn't communicate with, like a tree or a river or something like that. So, but yeah, Ekili is one of the things that DBS do. We discuss Ekili in Ogun 2 level, no, or left hand, Ogun 2 in Akedu. We discuss it. Not that I think anybody's going to be able to achieve. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to achieve it at the end of, a 3 month class, but because it takes years and years to master, like years, and it's not for everybody. Um, but yeah, I have a book in the medicine library too on astral travel. It's very detailed. It teaches you like how to do it and all that stuff. So if you're interested, just message me. I'll send you the link to it in the medicine library if you're a patron. If you're not a patron, if you're not a patron, I have no clue what the problem is. Everybody cool is on Patreon. No, I'm just playing out. The Patreon is a place to be, so be there. Energy cords are a two-way street. Yes, they are. I want to say it, but what men do and feel is not how women will feel trying to marry men. The tit for tat. Yeah, it's not the same thing. Yeah, it's not like a man with many wives. I don't think is experiencing the same thing as a woman with many husbands, right? I don't know how to explain that. I don't know. I don't know. But maybe this is some ingrained misogynistic thinking going on. I don't know. How do you find how do I know what a woman's feeling? How do you find out which market day you're born on, as the calendar does not go back that far? My calendar doesn't go back that far. I don't think, honestly, and I'm going to burst a lot of people's bubbles, I don't think an accurate calendar has been made. Some of the people with calendars, I would like to see their method or like hear how they made their method, because I don't know if they're factoring for time zones and stuff. And then there's this philosophical thing was, oh, it's only the time zone in Igbo land. That's not true. That's not true. Because time, according to our ancestors, is in relationship with the movement of the sun and the moon. So, which is different in different places, right? And so, yeah, I don't know if an accurate calendar has been made. Um, I would just go with whichever one feels right, whichever one makes sense, right? Which the one that makes sense is probably more than likely it. At this point, I can, if you want to talk a little bit, I can tell you. I can spot Urie. Now I can spot Urie Nkwo. And I'm starting to get a hint on Eke people. Eke and Afo still confuse me for each other. But Uri and Nkwa. And then I have people like a part of our community that say that, oh, I know an Eke person from 300 miles away, but I don't know. I don't know if I know them yet. But I got the Uri, that one's fucking obvious as hell. So I can probably tell you from talking to you, but whichever one feels right is probably it. Whichever one makes sense, whichever one describes you is probably it. But I wouldn't like the calendars are cool. Like my calendar is for like now. It's not for like going back to 1982 to see if you're an Orier and a person. And by the way, if you don't know, if you're a patron, those who don't know, So I connect all my patrons to like my calendar, and that calendar has what market day it is, and then like what observances, like what that means, and then also has what moon we're under, observances, what that means. I think I need to update some of the moons. There's some of them that are still blank, so I need to fix that. But I'll do my email, or do you mean DM? Honestly, email. Yeah, oh, if you're DM me on Patreon. That's the best way. DM me on Patreon. I know you're a patron, but if you're not a patron on Patreon, if you're not a patron, then email is fine. I don't check Instagram. I literally don't. So yeah, I don't. Some people message me on Instagram, and like I come back to it like 3 months later, like, oh damn, this was a good statement they made, or comment, or question. Wish, I wish it was still relevant. So yeah, I don't check Instagram. Uh, contained in Chuku or in Odinani, is reality contained in Chuku or Chineke? Chineke is reality. Chineke is reality. Chineke is everything. Is everything, right? Chuku is interesting because we use Chuku to say like eke, like the male eke, but both of them are Chuku. Both of them are referred to as Chuku. Chuku just means the ultimate, the grand, the main chi, the big chi, right? So Chuku means, but Eke is Chuku, Chi is Chuku. So Chineke encapsulates both of them. But when people say Chuku, they refer to, or they're typically referring to the divine masculine. Always remember we're in 2024. You have many cultures to look into, truths. Chuku mystery. Hermeticism maintains God is separate from this life. Yes. Yeah. So a lot of people, as far as Onani goes, say the same thing, that Chuku is distant. So you. Somebody says, so you do matchmaking or just a joke? I'm tired of dating Christians. Maybe we should do something. Maybe we should do some kind of matchmaking thing. What do you guys think? Huh? Maybe we should do some kind of matchmaking thing. Because I talk to people all the time, like, I can see these two making sense with each other, that kind of thing. A lot of good-looking people in the village. We're a good-looking community. We're a good-looking community. A lot of single people. A lot of single people in the village. So it would make sense. It would make sense. I see a lot of compatible people. I would imagine it'd be. I mean, obviously, it's hard to find somebody with your very specific understanding in a world colonized by Christianity and Islam. So yeah, it makes sense. Maybe we can do something. Maybe we can do something. I think that'd be fun. Yeah. Now my head's starting to go. I'll do my. There you go. So she goes that I understand what you're saying, and for that it's imperative a woman selects a life partner who is selective with his life force energy. Absolutely. Psh, I'm down for Odinani matchmaking. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually, that'd be funny. All right, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. But guys, this has probably been the longest live we've done in a long time. This has been a lot of fun. Said a whole lot, and things like that. So yeah, those of you who are interested in the traditional medicine class or the language class, get www.kedu.me. Click the orange button. Click the orange button. Somebody said earlier that they thought it was just like a design. No, it's a button. Click the orange button, and you'll find the options of classes to sign up for. The next round is August, sorry. And then after August, September starts the medicine class. But guys, this has been amazing. Oh, Denani speed dating. Ah! I'll think of something. Anybody who has like a creative idea how to pull it off, message me, right? I'll take input. I'm open to taking input, right? So because like one of the things like I don't have like the hand for is like event planning, because there are details I never think of, but I know like my sister has this like gift for it. She's so good, and she'll think of these random ass details like, oh, I didn't, and then it turns out ended up being like the most important thing, and it didn't even cross my mind because I don't know, I kind of I'm exceptionally low maintenance. So sometimes I don't consider things that other people don't consider. So yeah. Anybody who has ideas on how to pull this shit off, I think this shit will be funny as hell. I think well, maybe we'll do like a Red Bull. Yo, maybe we'll do like a virtual Red Bull. Yo, oh wow, that's oh man. Okay, I just took a good idea and turned it into a bad one, but I'm having a lot of fun with the bad idea. Okay, maybe we'll have like a normal real one. Then we'll have a red balloon one. Because shit, can you imagine what it'd be like to walk into a room, they just hear like 30 balloons go off? I'm sorry. The link to your Patreon isn't working. Bullshit. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, it's not loading. That's weird. Ugwani, are you in Nigeria? Are you at home? Odinala popped the balloon. Yeah. Hold on. Dang, don't be asking for free classes. It's cheap. Don't be asking for yeah, it's cheap at the hey, thank you. Ah, which one is free class? Oh, I'm not financially buoyant. Can I get a free slot? No, I can't do that because there's a lot of people that I've saved up and oh Udochi, I really appreciate you for doing that. Thank you so much, Asuka. Yeah, so Patreon doesn't. It's just some discriminatory shit, but the Patreon doesn't allow Nigeria access. And I've been looking for alternatives, but none of them do. The only site that like allows Nigeria to participate in full are like TikTok and I think YouTube with anything. So what I'm gonna do, and I keep saying this and I haven't done it yet, I want to look into like the YouTube membership program. And I think that if you're in Nigeria, we can just use that as the Patreon, and then I'll try to link, but I don't know if like, because I would need like an email address from the person and things like that. So I'll look into. I'm gonna write it on my to-do list, and I'll see if I can get it done this week. I'm gonna start like a membership program, and the membership will be for like people in Nigeria, so you'll get access to the Patreon the same way. But yeah, unfortunately, if you're in Nigeria, Patreon doesn't take your. It's just I don't know. It's bullshit. But just stay tuned, Uguay, and thanks for being patient. I had mentioned doing this before, and I looked at different things, and then I just kind of left it alone because I couldn't find anything. But I think the membership program might be a way I can people from Nigeria can access it because, yeah, YouTube and TikTok, and then every other website. If you're in Nigeria, they just block you the fuck off. They'll claim it's one thing or another, but I know what it is. Oh, using a VPN work for Nigerians? Absolutely. Oh, is it chic or chick? Chick Chi. Thank you so much. He said, Chick Chi, I owe you a little sound effect or something. I appreciate your donation. That was really cool. Derek, you can consider it a scholarship opportunity in your academic library. Where's your thesis application for the scholarship? I haven't even mentioned application fee, but yeah, where's the thesis? Give me the thesis. Give me the thesis. No, don't give me the thesis because I won't do it. Oh, no, you're trifling and ask for free food. Right, exactly. Go to the mall, ask for free clothes. Yeah. It's just because I'm here smiling. You think you can ask me for free shit. I'm gonna do this and talk. Oh, once for it. It's all right, Gully. Anyways, Gully, this is the prompt for you to go to your people, your ancestors. When I say your people, I mean your ancestors, and tell them, hey, we're about to get that money for the traditional medicine class. I'm gonna start doing this. You know, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna boom, 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 make it happen, and it's gonna be done by this day. I need you with me. I need you with me on Eke. I need you with me on Uri. I need you with me on Afo. I need you with me on Unquo. You say, and then you go for it full force. They say that the ram enters battle head first, right? So you go head first into it, and it'll happen. So yeah, talk to your people. They got you. Odinma. I know I'll see you. I know I'll see you in September, Gully. I know I'll see you there in September. So no problem. Anyways, guys, this has been a great discussion. As always, uno gade, uno geto, nkabala, uno tiriaka, ogade no wa.